Boo! Bah! Hello. Hello everyone, get your stickers. Get your stickers getting while they're hot and sticky. Wait, no, don't get them while they're fresh. And sticker like. Yahoo! Hello everyone. Hello. I didn't warm up my voice and this is gonna be a long presentation. Well, I don't know how long it's gonna be, but no, don't give me that face. It's sticky, no. I need to warm up my voice. Do you guys want to warm up with me? You guys want to warm up with me? Well, first let's chat for a bit. Maybe that'll get the vocal cords going. Oh, double medieval Binka. Hello everyone, hello, it's me, Binka Bear, your local sun bear, an art history teacher, an educational streamer, and medieval marginalia. Oh wait, I was gonna promote my stream one more place. There we go. Okay, let's get— no, don't get on it sticky, that's not what I meant. Hello Matthew, hello, Cooking Grill Raid! Welcome, welcome. I was lurking a little bit. I was lurking earlier while I was getting some stuff set up. But hello, how you doing? Thanks for the raid. What were you up to? I know that you were painting. I know that you were painting some wow, what was it? Was it like fish people? Pikemen. You were painting pikemen, that's right. Cooking Grill Raid. Hello, Mayshark. Hello, last of the Jamesians. Hello, Jaime. Hello, Peck School. Oh, I didn't I didn't say hello before. I was testing out a whole bunch of like chat stuff, so let's see. Hello, there's Seribot as always. Seishun, Folk, hello, welcome. Hello, beeplebees, hello. Starting off the day with light aggravated assault. It wouldn't be a Binka lecture day if it weren't for the light aggravated assault. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Peck School. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Jaime. Hello, Mayshark. I'm seeing double! 4 Babinkas! That's just so many Babinkas. Arguably, one might say too many. Painting Randon and the Randonites. Underwater Randonites, let's go. Let's go. Sorry about my Oshi. Okay, get your stickers. Get your stickers. I need to warm up my voice. It's finally happening, you guys. I'm gonna be teaching about medieval art. I kind of held off on this because it's just such a big topic. It's just a lot. And what I'm presenting on today isn't even like the most exhaustive one. I'm really like focusing on just like a couple forms of medieval art. And then we're kind of just jumping off from there. But first, do you guys want to warm up with me? Do you guys want to do some vocal warm-ups together? I feel like if I don't, my voice is going to go real quick. So let's do it together. Ready, class? And yes, it does in fact say Nu Caliente on the bottom there. That was the ad I got. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. The design is... Anyway, let's go ahead and warm up our voice. Oh yeah. Wait, before we do that, Matthew, if you have to do any post-stream care, same with the grillers or your audience that came with you, feel free. But we're just gonna warm up and then we're gonna chat a little bit, cause you might have noticed either if you follow me on Twitter or if you're on the Discord, but I'm back in my Digimon era, baby. So let's go ahead and warm up. Let's hum. Ding. Oh, let me lower that actually. And stand up nice and tall. What I started doing is going an octave lower when I can't go that high anymore. So let's try it. Octave higher. Got it, yo. Light aggravated assault over salting the food. Yo, kare sounds so good. Ready for mum? Mum. Oh, I see the picture of the kare. Yo, that looks so good, Matthew. No one cooked rice. No. You're just gonna eat it by itself? No. Mum. Octave higher. Mama, 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 mum. Mama, 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 mum. Nice. Oh, here comes the silly part. You guys ready for some silliness? Bum bum. While I do these, let me know how the sound levels are, by the way. Audio sounds good. Thank you, Mayshark. No rice. How are we gonna survive? Goo 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 goo. Goo 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 goo. Goo goo. Look at the captions. Goo goo. Goo 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 goo. Goo 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 goo. Goo 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 goo. Nice. No, not the ads. Not the ads. Not now. Not ever. Okay, warmed up the voice. I kind of want to also warm up with some tongue twisters, you know, my pronunciation and stuff, so I'm not tripping over myself. Let's get some tongue twisters out here. Twisters, English. Oh, enunciation. That's what we need. Enunciation. All the time babies been looking for Google from the start. I know they're the origin of all the time babies. It's like some Terminator-ish. Alright, let's see what kind of tongue twisters we got here. Oh, we got the classic, the Peter Piper, to improve the P's, you know? Oh yeah, let's put on some music. I found a medieval lo-fi playlist on Spotify. Let's listen together. No, that's Chapel Rowan. I didn't press the actual play button. There you go. Wow. So calm. Oh, and hello. Thanks for the pet. Oh yeah, did you guys notice I brought in some nothing too complex, but I got some new redeems. I repriced the summoning the cats to make it cheaper. And then you know, you can pet the cats, you can pet Mr. Pancakes, you can pet me. You pet me. Bardcore Chapel Rowan, that does exist. It does exist. Yeah, you gotta summon the cats. You gotta do that first. Oh, you did? Wait. Did you? Did I miss it? Cause I was playing around with the redeems earlier, so maybe something broke, but if you did, let me know. But anyway, okay, let's do some warm-ups, some enunciation warm-ups, and then we'll chat a little bit before we get right into the medieval art. Ready? The classic. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. So if I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter will make my batter better. Owen, hello. Thank you for the raid. Sparkly Race Cat raid. Yahoo! Hello, how you doing? Oh yeah, it's DDR Fridays. I keep like confusing my days. It is in fact a Friday. It's Friday, my dudes. It's Friday, my cubs. Wah! Sparkly Race Cat raid. How was your stream? How you doing? Hello, welcome. We're gonna be talking about medieval art today. I am gonna be mentioning a little bit of Pentiment, which I know that you played. So I want to stay for the lesson, but I gotta shower. Yeah. Go ahead and shower. And yeah, no worries at all. The VOD will be there. In fact, I was telling Alpaca this. I might want to improve my editing skills, and one way to practice would be to edit this VOD, actually, to make it into something a little bit more chewable. The goal would actually be to start editing things into shorts, and I know that there's a way to already do that with Twitch's like system, but I just want to get better at editing. I don't know that much about it. I just use CapCut, you know. So yeah. But yeah, stay as long as you need to, and then feel free to skedaddle whenever you need to. Yeah, chewable VODs, very cromulent, very buttery. Speaking of, let's continue. Let me do like 5. I want to do like at least 5 tongue twisters just to get my enunciation. If you ever want a basic 30-minute tutorial, let me know. Yeah, I prefer looking up tutorials. I think I'll let you know. I don't know. I don't want to bug people. Basically, if it's something I can look up on YouTube, I don't want to like bug people about it, you know. So I'll look it up on YouTube. But if I struggle, I tend to only ask people when I'm like struggling with something hyper specific. Like I was trying to like figure out Sammy before the stream started, right? with some if and statements. But I did find out how to do it. But if I couldn't, then that's when I would have been like, okay, I gotta hit up some people then. Cause you know me, the social anxiety, the shyness. Okay, what other tongue twisters do we got? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? If he would chuck as... Wait, what? I don't know this last part. He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. There you go. What's a Sammy? That's an excellent question, Mayshark. So I use a program called Sammy. Hello, Pickles. Hello. Welcome. Pet Mr. Pancakes. Basically, Sammy is a program that people can use in addition to... It's like a streamer bot, even though there's also another program called Streamer Bot. But basically, it helps with things like redeems. It connects directly to OBS, so like if you do a redeem, it can kind of handle whether a certain source is visible, for example. So that's what I use for stuff like the pet command. It's what I use for like changing the classroom and how it looks. So it's just really useful in that way. She sells seashells by the seashore. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? That sounds dirty. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Susie works in a shoe shine shop. Where she shines, she sits. Where she sits, she shines. That's dangerous. The tongue twister's dangerous. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. A bear? Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy, was he? Can you can a can as a can or can a can? I've got a date at 7:45. I'll see you at the gate, so don't be late. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Unique New York, unique New York. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for the doc, Matthew. Yeah, it has a bit of a learning curve, but once you get it rolling, it gets rolling. I should learn Sammy. Like I said, it's really useful as a streaming tool, but it does have a bit of a learning curve. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Is that Schnackery that's eating them? If a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? I thought of thinking of thanking you. I wish to wash my Irish wristwatch. Why would you wash a... Near an ear, a nearer ear, a nearly eerie ear. Eddie edited it. Willie's really wary. A big black bear sat on a big black rug. Tom threw Tim 3 thumbtacks. He threw 3 free throws. Nice. Wait. 9 nice night nurses nursing nicely. So this is the sushi chef. That's not a tongue twister, is it? Look at the sentence. Give me a second. No, actually I should just share my... There we go. So this is the sushi chef. I mean, I guess maybe these are more tongue twisters to help like English learners with like enunciation. So I guess it would be, but if you're like an English speaker, I feel like this isn't that much of a tongue twister. So this is the sushi chef. 4 fine fresh fish for you. Wayne went to Wales to watch walruses. 6 sticky skeletons. Why are they sticky? 6 sticky skeletons. 6 sticky skeletons. Which is which? Snap, crackle, pop. Flash message. Flash message is a tongue twister? Flash message, flash message. Oh, I guess. Yeah. I guess it is like the j and the sh sound. Red Buick, blue Buick. Oh my god. When I was in high school, it used to be red leather. Wait, what was it? Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Is it red Buick now? Did they change it since I was but a cub? Or I guess this is another one. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Red leather, yellow leather. Thin sticks, thick bricks. Thick thighs save lives. Did you guys know that? 11 oh, that one's actually kind of hard to say. 11 benevolent elephants. 11 benevolent elephants. Stupid superstition, stupid superstition, stupid superstition. Wait, this one's actually kind of hard. 11 benevolent elephants. 11 benevolent elephants. 11 benevolent elephants. No, that one is actually like twisting me up. 2 tried and true tridents. Rolling red wagons, rolling red wagons, rolling red wagons. 2 tried and true tridents. Black back bat, black back bat, black back bat. She sees cheese, she sees cheese, she sees cheese. Truly rural, truly rural, truly rural. Good blood, bad blood, good blood, bad blood, good blood, bad blood. They changed the alphabet song? How? Like, do they not do LMNOP anymore? Pre-shrunk oh, this one's hard. Wait. Pre-shrunk silk shirts. Pre-shrunk silk shirts. Pre-shrunk silk shirts. Ed had edited it. Ed had edited it. Ed had edited it. We surely shall see the sunshine soon. Which wrist watches are Swiss wrist watches? Fred fed Ted bread and Ted fed Fred bread. I slit the sheet, the sheet I slit on the slitted sheet I sit. It sounds weird that LMNOP has been divorced. Huh? That's strange. That's so strange. A skunk sat on a stump and thunked the stump. Stunk? Wait. A skunk sat on a stump and thunked the stump skunk, but the stump thunked the skunk stunk. Lesser leather never weathered, wetter weather better. Of all the vids I've ever viewed, I've never viewed a vid as of all the vids I've ever viewed, I've never viewed a vid as valued as Alex's Ingvid vid. Is this some kind of... Ah, you see that? He's selling the lessons. I see. Okay, I think we're fairly warmed up now, both tongue twister wise and voice wise. So I'm down to, well, let's chat. Let's chat a little bit since a couple of things had happened since the last time I streamed. Last time I streamed was Monday, right? We played Felvedek. That one was pretty fun. Continuation of Medieval Mondays, and now we're here on Medieval Fridays to learn about medieval art, right? But that was fun. Since then, the big thing has been I'm back in my Digimon era. I think that's the big thing. And that's because on Wednesday, there was a convention called Digimon Con. Or it wasn't really a convention because it wasn't like, it was like a live event that was streamed, but I don't think it was a physical thing that you could go to, right? With like booths and stuff, kind of like Anime Expo or any other like convention. But it's called Digimon Con. And they announced a whole bunch of news. Got me really excited, really hyped. And it's fair to say that I'm back in it, baby. It's not like I ever left. Like I never was not in my Digimon era, but it's like I'm back. It's back to the level of like hyper fixation. So I've been reading the webcomic, Digimon Liberator. I started getting into there's a web novel. I'm trying to get into the card game. I'm using like a tutorial for it. What else? Oh, I started watching an anime called Appmon or App Monsters. It's like kind of like an offshoot, a spin-off, if you will, of like the Digimon series. So I watched the first 3 episodes just yesterday. I liked it. I know that beeplebees has been recommending it a lot. So I finally checked that out. It's really cool. There's almost some like, dare I say, like cyberpunk-ish like themes to it. Cause like one of the things is like, oh, if AI goes crazy, this is what happens to like the map apps, right? Like it takes you to the wrong place. If you know, if like messaging apps like go haywire, you know, it could send like the wrong thing. Tindermon! Oh no! I haven't gotten that far yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was like the focus of like a certain episode, you know? Hold on, let me move my Spotify now button so that maybe it's like up here or something. There you go. But yeah, so I'm back in it. I'm in it to win it. The final boss. Totally not Twitter. I think you mean X, actually. No, I'm just kidding. I don't call it X. But there's probably, yeah, like there's probably gonna be like a social media episode too. So I'm enjoying it so far. It is very much meant for kids though. Like I don't know, just the overall vibe of it is very kiddie, but that kind of is what like Digimon is, right? Like it is like meant for a younger audience, but it just so happens to also tell a story oftentimes that is also like really cool for adults to enjoy as well. Because I remember as a kid, you know, I started with Digimon Adventure in 1999. That's like my comfort series. I watch it like every couple of years or so. Oh yeah, and this summer we're gonna be watching Digimon Adventure 02. I still haven't decided if we're gonna keep on doing watch-alongs on in my Discord, because I feel like that's just less accessible. I do appreciate folks that are already in there, but like I don't know, for some people it's like, oh, I gotta join another Discord to do this, right? And if you remember, we did the watch along for the Popol Vuh and the Aztec story, the 5 Suns. We did it on stream, but we had a timer so that you guys could see where I was at all times. So maybe we'll do something like that. The only thing is you guys might not have a source, right? You guys might not have a source for like Digimon. I have it downloaded, or rather, I legally obtained. Yes, I totally legally obtained those episodes. I mean, I did buy the Blu-rays, you know. But yeah, so I'm still deciding. Maybe it is going to be through Discord because of that. Because the thing with the Popol Vuh and the 5 Suns is that those were available via YouTube link, like for free. With the Digimon episodes, you either need like, yeah, legal sourcing. Yeah, purchase legally. Yes. So that's the thing, is like if we're going to do a watch along, I want a way for you guys to like you don't have to like have a streaming service. You could just like tune in, right? So well, we'll see. But yeah, that would be happening this summer. I haven't decided the dates because I am going away for a lot of weekends during the summer. The biggest one is going to be my Japan trip. That's going to be like my first trip, and then I am going elsewhere for a bunch of different like conventions and events and stuff. So well, we'll see what happens. But going back to the whole like hyperfixation with Digimon. Oh yeah, I was talking about how like it's meant for kids, but sometimes adults can enjoy it as well. The 3rd series, Digimon Tamers, is also like a big favorite. I remember my dad used to watch it with me when I was a kid. Like, so I was like the target audience at the time. I think I was like 12 or something, 11, 12. Because let's see, 1999 for the first season, I was like 8. After that, 9, 10. So yeah, I was like 10, 11, 12 when Digimon Tamer started airing. My dad was watching it with me and he was like really engaged. He was really like into it, especially when the plot, like spoiler alert, for Digimon Tamers, the plot gets like a lot darker at the very end. So he was like, whoa, this is a kid show? That's crazy. But yeah, so with that, this is also gonna like my hyperfixation into Digimon is also gonna be bleeding into my streams a little bit. I think once we're done with Felvidec, either next week or the week after, I want to start doing something called Digimondays. That's right. On Mondays, we're going to play Digimon games. Or a Digimon game. Because the one Digimon game I want to play on stream is gonna take a while. It's really gonna take a while. It's because I'm gonna be playing a game called Digimon Cyber Sleuth. This is very similar in format to Persona and Pokemon and like turn-based Pokemon. But like I think it's more Digimondays, right? I feel like other people have played around with the like for example like Pokemondays, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if other like, you know, Digimon content creators also do like a Digimondays type thing, but I just thought it'd be cute to snatch it from myself. It's interesting how nowadays a lot of children's cartoons are oriented as adults as opposed to children. Yeah, like I think it's that way because the assumption is like this child probably isn't watching this by themselves. They're probably watching it with an adult. So that's why I feel like not even nowadays, but back going to the 90s, there was a lot of cartoons that like while a kid might enjoy them, you also got your little wink winks at like the adult audience as well. Like stuff like, oh, how did they get away with like putting that in there, right? So, but I'm gonna be playing something called Digimon Cyber Sleuth. I've actually played and completed it before, but I didn't play. They have an add-on, quote unquote DLC called Hacker's Memory, that I think I barely made a dent in it before I like ended up getting busy with other things. So that would be completely new content, but I do want to start over with Cyber Sleuth just to show people what it looks like. And I do also want it to kind of be a series where like you don't have to worry about catching every single episode, quote unquote. Like if you miss a week, no worries, you know, I'll try to catch you up as much as you can because it is going to take a while. Like I think I did the math. Typically my streams are like 3 to 4 hours, right? 4, like if I really want to like complete something, right? But if I go for 3 hours each stream, I would have to go for like most of the year to complete Digimon Cyber Sleuth on stream. So keep that in mind. That's going to be Digimondays for like pretty much almost the rest of the year until like October maybe. But I mean at least it isn't Naruto. I love Naruto though. So, well, does it have any long form games? I know that Naruto does have like quite a few video games. I don't know if it has like long ones. Oh, Naruto. Oh, as in like watching it. Yeah, that would take... Well, it took me and Beans like half a year. We started watching in like July. That'd be a few years of streams. Yeah. Yeah, like we went from July, but then we also skipped all the fillers. That's the thing. So we finished like shortly after the new year. Whereas we are also gonna start One Piece. We already like finished the first arc of One Piece. I do suspect that is gonna take until probably next year, maybe even the year after. So, but yeah, in terms of like playing the video game though, playing Cyber Sleuth, yeah, it's it's I do say episodes, but I mean like stream, like times that I stream it. So let's say that I stream it like next Monday or something. If you don't catch it, then don't worry about like. You can still watch the one on the week after, because I'll catch you up, basically. So, yeah. So that's what's to expect. Next week, I do want to stream a little bit more, because like this week I had to cut out some stream days, because I was... Oh yeah, it was Binka Mama's birthday yesterday. We went to... so when you said kare kare, Matthew, I was reminded of it, because we went to a Filipino restaurant. And the thing with my siblings, and then my brother also bought his girlfriend, who's also Filipina, and she like lives with her parents. All of them are very used to eating Filipino food on the daily, right? So they're like, oh, why are we going to a Filipino restaurant? We don't get enough Filipino food at home. But whereas me, who lives with my partner in like a like Uzbek household, I'm like, man, I miss this. I miss it. So I got my fill of seafood, of Filipino seafood. I got some lobster balls, which if you don't know, okay, I didn't realize how rare this is. So you guys know what, like when I say fish balls and lobster balls, you know that I'm not referring to, I guess, the testes of the respective animal, right? I actually don't know if lobsters even have those, but I'm referring to fish meat or lobster meat that's been rolled into balls and fried. They're really good. I still have some in the fridge right now. I'm actually pretty excited to eat them. But yeah. Yeah, you figured? Yeah, hello, Kayla. Hello, welcome. But yeah, so I ate those yesterday. I had, there's this food called sinigang. It's like a sour soup. I didn't care how filling a fish testicle would be, right? I mean, we already eat their eggs. What next, right? And their flesh. Lobster pea is stored in the lobster balls. No! No, a bull testicle. Oh yeah, that is an actual thing that people do eat. Yeah. Like crab cakes, exactly. Oh, I do love me some crab cakes. The thing we had is this soup called sinigang. It's something that I grew up with, and I didn't realize that like sour soup is one of those things that not everyone has a taste for because I grew up with it. I found out that Beans, for example, doesn't like sour soup, and I was like, oh, but it's so good. It's so sour. But I love it. But the only thing is that I accidentally left my food out without putting it in the fridge last night. So I'm pretty sure that went bad. So I had to toss that, unfortunately. Man, yeah, sinigang is so good. You put it on fancy overpriced. Yeah. To be fair, caviar is. Oh yeah, that's true. It is more of a condiment. Yeah. I know. Oh, sour soup when you're sick. Oh man, that's goated, as the kids say. That's the best. I know, Peg School. I accidentally left it out, and it's so good. I haven't had sinigang in so long, but at least I know where the Filipino spots are now. Because I haven't been to this one that we went to for my mom's birthday. It was also nice catching up with the fam bam. It'll be fine. It's Filipino food. The sour additives will keep it good for a while. No, I already tossed it. Well, it's because it has fish in it. It's fish sinigang. So with seafood, you know, you want to be like careful with that. But I don't know. My family also has like iron stomachs. My dad, like, it's funny. He was a vegan, but he still worked as a butcher. He's no longer vegan. He's keto, but he still works as a butcher. And he takes stuff from the supermarket that is about to go past, not the expiration date, but the best buy date. You know how that's different, where it's like you can still eat something if it's past the best buy date. But once it's expired, right? But even then, my dad will always be like, it's still good. Eat it. Yeah, the sell by date. Yeah, exactly. So, but no one in my family gets sick. I occasionally get sick from maybe my stomach is losing losing its steel. Being a vegan butcher both makes sense and no sense. Yeah, it's true, yeah. Like on one hand, some can handle how the sausage is made. Ah, that's where that saying came from, right? How the sausage is made. What song was that from Hamilton? The room where it happens, the room where it happens. By God, in God we trust. So yeah, my folks don't believe in. Yeah, same. Matthew, same. My parents also don't believe in expiration dates, but I've just gotten like, I don't know. Once you get food poisoning, it's like you do get a little bit more cautious of those things, right? I've gotten it more than once, and I'm like, dang it, this sucks. Like this sucks for real. Stuff they have for like $2 in a corner at 99 Ranch. Yeah. Like, yeah, there's like also Filipino street food that's like, oh, so good. It's so good. May have given me a food aversion to like eggs for a while because of that. Yeah. It's the same with like when you get too sick when you like, you know, drink a lot in like a single night. I remember in my wild older 20s, right? My later 20s, I used to party quite a bit. Teacher used to party a bit. I remember after the really like heavy drinking, the day after, even just the smell of alcohol would make me be like, I hate this. Very wishy-washy on expiration dates. Milk and other dairy, the sell-by date is law. Some milk's, yeah, it does. That one you can kind of go by like the smell, but sometimes that's not something to play around with. That's why, like, with me being pescatarian, I feel like fish, crab, shrimp, lobster, those are kind of like, you gotta take those expiration dates a little seriously because they really can go bad really quickly. Anything else refrigerated, I can handle it stale as long as the other ingredients aren't. Yeah, same. So that's why I'm gonna take my chances with the lobster balls because I also kind of, I know I'm going directly against what I just said, but the lobster balls were fried and they were in a plastic container, and I'm gonna microwave them. So we'll see. If I end up not streaming tomorrow, you'll know why. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit. Frozen food though, as long as nothing looks freezer burned, it should be fine once it's blasted in the air fryer. Oh yeah, instead of microwaving it, maybe I'll put it in the air fryer. Yeah. The lobster biscuit. I just love lobster balls so much. I just really like it. I'll post a picture of the lobster balls too on the Discord if I remember. But all right, it's been almost 45 minutes and we haven't gotten started. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I do want to talk about lobster balls as long as possible, but we're here for a lesson. And it's a lesson I've been postponing for a while. You might think I've only postponed it once because this presentation was supposed to happen last week, but actually it's twice. If you're a long-time BINKA, I actually was supposed to do a Gothic architecture stream like way long ago, like a couple months ago, and I just never finished the presentation, so I never did it. Like instead of postponing it, I was like, I'm just gonna come back to this at another time. So then I wanted to do a medieval art lecture lesson educational stream, right? I was supposed to be last week, but I didn't finish in time once again, and it's because I'll tell you why. It's because I didn't even procrastinate on it. I slightly procrastinated, as in I started working the week I was supposed to present it, and then I realized like, oh, this is a pretty like big like there's so many different avenues you can go into kind of topic, right? So that's kind of the problem I encountered here. So I have to say that this presentation is definitely not going to be exhaustive. And, you know, when is a presentation exhaustive of a certain topic, you know? But yeah, exactly. A true rabbit hole. Speaking of air fryers, Little Caesar's deep dish tastes better once it's gone cold and crisp in the air fryer. I might want to try that. Once again, pescatarian, so I can't have like, you know, pizza with meat on it. But even just like a cheese pizza, maybe. But yeah, so medieval art, it's a rabbit hole. There's so many things I wanted to talk about, but I was like, nah, if I don't cut this soon, I'm never gonna finish this. So we're gonna be focusing a little bit on architecture and marginalia, which I'll explain what those things are. But I also have a little bit of a thesis, if you will, a hypothesis. Well, not really a hypothesis. You'll see. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I hope you guys will like the medieval lo-fi too. But yeah, let's get started. They have a veggie option. Ooh! I do. That's what I would eat whenever the company parties, you know. They always try to be very inclusive of everyone in the company. So I do have my share of the cheese pizza. I do love me some cheese pizza. Alright, let's get started. But before we start, I have a question for you cubs. I'll give you guys like a couple minutes or so to answer it. But yeah, we're gonna study medieval art, but I want to know what comes to mind for you guys when I say this term, medieval, right? Like medieval art. What comes to mind? While you guys do that, I'm gonna figure out how to put on the highlighter of this thing. So go ahead and answer in the chat. I need to figure, is it this one? Yeah, laser pointer. Woo! I grew up being solely a meat topping kid, but veggies go hard on a pizza, especially peppers. I was the same. I actually used to be the kind of kid that I would pick off all of the toppings, right? I was very picky as a kid. I would pick off like the onion, the pepper. I would only leave the sausage and the pepperoni. And then as I started becoming an adult, I started leaving them on, and I really ended up liking the crunch. I just really like the crunch of things. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. You guys responded really quickly. Thank you. Idol, hello. The ugly dogs and cats. Yeah, definitely. I think of Babinkanalia, my model right now. Yeah. Oh, nice, Pickle. So tapestries. Yeah, that's one that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't have enough time. Or I did, but like I couldn't fit it all into here. But tapestries are really cool to look at. I saw a couple at the Met Museum when I visited New York City a couple years back. They're so cool. They're so cool. Yeah, the old baby faces. We'll kind of touch on that today. The boar guy being stabbed in the head. I love that one. I love the edit. I think someone edited like, what is it? Was it Battle or someone else into that one? Battle crackers, hello. Animals that look like they were drawn by someone who never saw the animal. Yeah, especially like elephants, right? Like cats with human faces. You know what? I realized I didn't really go into that in this presentation, but we can. We can go into the whole reason why the animals look like that, right? I mostly think those paintings that look like kid sketches are the hyper-realistic battlefield ones, right? Okay, cool. Oh yeah, get your stickers, everyone. Get your 1 point redeem. Get your scratch and sniffer stickers. Immortal John, that's right. Dude, I love the Immortal John triptych. That's like those games are so funny. But yeah, so like it seems like we have I really like everyone's answers because you guys went in different directions. Like someone brought up tapestries, you brought up like kind of like a lot of the quote unquote like ugly or not accurate faces, right? What else? Yeah, the board guy getting stabbed in the head, basically going into this whole thing of like sometimes the emotions or the faces that you see in medieval art don't match what's happening, right? Ugly dogs, yeah. So all of that. So yeah, the thing with medieval art is that it does have a bit of a reputation of like being, kind of ugly. We'll go into that, but first of all, let's go into like what kind of art we're gonna be looking at. Yeah, the memes are so peak. I love the memes so much. I actually didn't get if anyone has that one Twitter that is just like medieval memes. I think it's even just called medieval memes. Like, feel free to put it in the chat. Medieval art memes are so peak. People get casually getting tortured or murdered. Yeah, and like their faces are just like, it's a living. The picture of the devil, something. Yeah, the devil pictures are kind of funky. I'm biased because a lot of medieval info I look up involves warfare, fighting, or food. Oh, interesting. Yeah, when I was doing research for this presentation, I tried to focus mostly on art, but then like my For You page started to become things like medieval warfare and like weaponry and stuff. So it was pretty interesting. I saw this video that was about how they said like all medieval art is fantasy, and what they meant by that is, especially with warfare imagery, the costumes and stuff aren't always accurate, and it's more of like, what word did they use? They used like it's like a visual shorthand. For example, they would show a king wearing like gold armor or wearing like a crown on top of his helmet, right? But that wouldn't be accurate to what they would actually wear. It would just be kind of like a way so that you as the viewer know like, oh, this is supposed to represent the king in this piece of art. So stuff like that, Good night. Have work in the morning, so I just popped in for a little bit. I'm glad that you stopped by as long as you did, Pickles. I'm glad. Thank you for stopping by, and have a good rest. Thank you. Love archery and the gizmos they came up with to throw stuff faster. Yeah. So there's so much like technology. When we imagine technology, I feel like a lot of people imagine like computers and like electricity and stuff like that, right? But technology extends into stuff like, yeah, like battle warfare, battle, I was gonna say battlecraft, but like, but yeah, like weaponry, stuff like that. How to make arrow go so fast that it goes through flesh, right? Or like a piece of wood. Exactly like that. Yeah, visual symbolism. Yeah, exactly. Battle crackers. Exactly. Some medieval gadgets are bad piggies vibes. So yeah, for this presentation, we're gonna go into different types of art. Most, if not all, are gonna be from Europe, especially like Western Europe, and it's gonna cover the 5th to 15th centuries. Now, if you're like me and get confused by dates a lot, despite being like a historian, remember that the 1st century is like the year 1 to the year like 99. So that way whenever you see like 5th to 15th century, it's actually like you want to think like the number before that, if that makes sense. So the 5th century is actually the 400s, and the 15th century is the 1400s. So, we're currently in the 21st century, right? So the 2000s. But yeah, so the evolution of ballistics is interesting, from chucking spears and addle-addles to bows, crossbows, and then firearms. Yeah, exactly. It's like how to make weapon go boom so that it goes through person, right? But yeah, so we're gonna be looking at art from that time period, and then the big kind of historical context with this kind of art that you need to keep in mind is that this is right after the quote-unquote fall of Rome. The one thing that I should I guess specify is that people always call it the fall of Rome, but it's actually only the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Before this, the Roman Empire, which a lot of you might be familiar with from like history and stuff, or even how Rome is portrayed in like media, is we imagine like Caesar or like the Colosseum, stuff like that, right? So all that is the Western Roman Empire. It actually split in two after a while. And the Eastern Empire became known as the Byzantine Empire. So that even has its own art style as well, which I don't have time to really go over. But the Western Empire would fall. And the reason it would fall is because of a lot of... just like there were a lot of reasons, just like with the fall of any empire. But like the main reason that a lot of people will attribute is like it fell to a bunch of roaming Germanic tribes, right? A lot of Germanic peoples would eventually like take over. So at that point, the Roman Empire, you want to imagine, is now like fractured. But there is a connecting factor, which we're going to get into in a little bit. I think last Saturday, Little Caesar got stabbed. He did! The Ides of March! Beware of the Ides of March. My Carthaginian homies hate Rome. You'll love to see it. But yeah, so another thing to know about this period is that it's usually also called the Middle Ages or sometimes the Dark Ages, but a lot of scholars are kind of erring away from that, or they're kind of like distancing themselves from that term, because even the Middle Ages, both these terms come from the fact that like it's a little bit of bias, and that kind of goes into why a lot of people feel the way they do about medieval art as well. So let me actually skip forward a little. I'll come back, or if I remember, I'll come back to the whole idea of like Middle Ages, Dark Ages. But the stereotype with medieval art is that it's ugly, right? Like, was it because of the Victorians? A little bit. It was definitely like the people that came after like the Renaissance. So yeah, very similar to that. So the stereotype with medieval art is that it's sometimes seen as like crude or unskilled. And what did I put here? As if artists didn't care for aesthetic beauty, or if they didn't have the ability to make it aesthetically pleasing. Like the stereotype is like they didn't know how to draw and they didn't care about like making things pretty, right? In some ways that is a little bit true, but it's a little bit more nuanced, which I will kind of go into. Enlightenment nerds! So we're gonna go ahead and look at some examples that prove otherwise, but we're also gonna look at why the stereotype exists. So yeah, let's just go on ahead. I will come back to the whole like Victorians thing. So in terms of like why medieval art has this kind of reputation, there's a couple of different reasons, and these are just three that I wanted to go over for today's lesson, right? But there are also a whole bunch of other ones that I will not have quite enough time to go into. But one of the big ones is like when you imagine medieval art, you might be imagining just a very specific kind, right? Like the marginalia, my art style right now, like my model right now, right? Or you might be imagining like certain like like icons is I guess the term for it, like pictures of Jesus, right? But that's actually a bit of a flattening of what medieval art is. Medieval art actually involves a whole lot of different mediums. So it involves tapestries, like what was mentioned before. It involves really cool ivory carvings. I know, details? Nobody has time for that. Why would we want to go into details when we could just oversimplify like what we do with every historical period? It's easier that way. Exactly, stained glass is another one. Exactly. So I really like the carved ivories, like the one that you see over here. Is my cursor? No, my cursor. You can't see my cursor. What if I do? No, you can't see it. Okay, that's fine. Oh no, here we go. If I do this, you just can't see the highlight. But yeah, so these like really finely carved ivories. We'll go into that. But another reason is, in a way, yes, medieval art is a bit ugly by certain standards, but it's only because the big deal with medieval art is that they stress symbolism and storytelling over realism. So if you were to go back in time and like, show them a work by Michelangelo or like any one of the photorealistic artists that exist nowadays, right? If you show them that, they'd be like, that's not what I want. That's not what I like. That's not what I asked for. That's not what I'm paying you for, right? So we'll go over that as well. A bit, yeah, exactly. Did your Dark Ages have flying butt rests? Exactly. There's also so much charm to medieval art in that way. So the last thing I'm also going to go over into is the comparison. There's a lot of comparison with medieval art and what came before it, which would be considered classical art, which involves like Greek and Roman art. as well as what came after it, which is the Renaissance. So some of you might be familiar with like this term Renaissance and like Renaissance art. So there's a lot of comparison, and that's why even the term Middle Ages is kind of funky, because it's like, oh, it's in the middle of these two really cool eras, right? You have your like Victorians be like, you have your Chad Greek and Roman art, and then you have your virgin medieval art, you know, in the middle of that, and then you have your Chad version 2.0 Renaissance art. That's how Victorians were like. So like in the middle of these two awesome eras was this one crappy era known as the Middle Ages. So, you know, that is also kind of going into that stereotype a little bit. One funny medieval art, I think, is the guy who made the statue of Satan. Too sexy, yeah. I don't remember if that was medieval or maybe that was Renaissance, but yeah, that was a thing where it's like, oh yeah, like we're gonna commission you to make a statue of Satan. You got it, chief. Statue looks too sexy. Okay, we're gonna ask. Did they ask someone else or did they ask the same person? Because the second statue ended up even hotter. Wasn't that Michelangelo? Forget which artist it was. I don't remember if it was Michelangelo. I was just going through puberty. It's not their fault. It's like how a lot of art today you see on the internet is very stylized and can have varied proportions. Exactly. In fact, one of the sources, I say source, but I feel like it was just Wikipedia, said that medieval art even went through what's called like a mannerism phase. Mannerism is kind of like another style that comes later on where like a lot of the proportions are very stylized. So you also saw that in medieval times. And there is a scholar named Mary Trachtenberg who even referred to Gothic art and Gothic architecture as quote unquote medieval modernism. And I want you to take everything that you feel about modern art. So for example, like everything from Van Gogh to maybe nowadays, even though technically that would be contemporary, but but like if you take that art and how people are kind of like ambivalent on it, yeah, Banksy would be a good comparison. You know how people are usually like, oh, modern art, my kid could make that, or like modern art, I don't like it. It doesn't look like the traditional stuff, the real stuff, right? So if you take that and then you bring it all the way back to like the 1300s and the 1200s, that is what some people might have felt about like this new Gothic art, this new Gothic architecture, where they're like, oh, I don't like that. That looks like that doesn't look like what I'm used to. That looks new and I don't like it, right? Some are trying to be authentic to real life. Exactly. It was his brother? Oh, I need to look more into that. In terms of who did the Satan one, right? Oh yeah, it was the brother of the original artist. Yeah. Banksy, Randon Newring, modern art. Babinka Bear, modern art. People are ambivalent to me? No. Okay, so let's go over this first point first. So the oversimplifying or flattening of the art of the period. The reason why I say this is because I actually looked up, why do people like old time people handshake me? I looked up a Reddit post, or no, I looked up something and then it led me to a Reddit post, and the Reddit post was a guy saying, I'm gonna snooze that ad. Why does medieval art look so crappy? And the responses were really good because one of the responses was like, I feel like you're thinking of a very specific kind of medieval art, where medieval art is actually a lot of different things. It's a lot of different mediums and it's a lot of different styles. And it's also a period that's but like around 1,000 years long. This is very similar to how people talk about Egyptian art, for example. Egyptian art spans from like 5,000 or even like before that, like BCE to like, I don't know, like 400 CE. So that's over 5,000 years. And even though Egyptian art has a pretty consistent art style, it's sure to change within those 5,000 years, right? Here we're looking at a smaller time span. We're looking at the 400s to the 1400s, but for sure art styles are going to change within that time span, within that 1,000-year time span, but also it'll change depending on the location. So art that's made in Germany is going to be different from art that's made in France or art that's made in Great Britain. So it's very diverse, along with every other art style there is, right? Like if you even say modern art, it's very diverse. If you say, I don't know, Renaissance art, that's very diverse. But medieval art, very much the same. So here on the screen, I have this is from a tapestry. I think all of these are from the Metropolitan Museum of Art because they have a really cool collection page where you can look for stuff that is like open source or like Creative Commons. So we have a tapestry here. I think this one is called something like 5 Youths Playing, something like that. No, actually, I have it here. 5 Youths Playing Blind Man's Bluff. This is from the Netherlands from the 1500s. So tapestries are really cool because tapestries are like someone sewed in every single design. It's not even just like taking a brush and just painting it over the design. You had to like sew in the colors, the gradients, the detail, the texture. It's all like sewn in and it's so cool. So there's tapestries. That's one example of medieval art. You have your ivories. These are made out of, unfortunately, elephant ivory or like rhino ivory. So it's taken from a creature. It's taken from an animal. So unfortunately, like it wasn't, it's not the best medium because you are effectively ending the life of a poor animal that doesn't know any better. But out of that, oh yeah, narwhal. Yeah, that too. Unicorn horns, exactly. But out of that, they were able to carve these really ornate sculptures. So this is a folding shrine with the Virgin and Child. This is French. But you can see in there, I actually don't know what the, I'll actually give you guys the link. I'm actually going to share the slides with you guys at the very end or on my Discord. I haven't decided yet. But you can see the sources for all of these as well. So this is a source. This is, let me see how big this is. Dimensions, this is 7 inches. 7 inches by 13. So I think it's 13 inches by length, right? So if that's the case, oh no, that's, oh no, I read it wrong. I think that's 7 inches. 7 inches like lengthwise. So about the size of like a, what is that? Half a foot? So this is actually pretty small. But as you can see, like there's so many fine details in it. There's all these like different saints and stuff kind of carved into the, I actually don't know if they're saints or just like royal figures. But there's just so much detail carved into that, right? And the cool thing is if you zoom in, I think I should be able, you know what? I could probably do this. We could zoom in. If you zoom in, the proportions aren't accurate, right? Like look at Mary's hand in comparison to like, for example, her head. The body's a little bit small, right? Baby Jesus doesn't quite look like a baby, right? But despite that, like look at all of this detail that had to be finely carved in. So that takes some skill, in my opinion. And then what else do we have? Oh, we have our illuminated manuscripts, which we are going to be going into detail in a little bit. Illuminated manuscripts are basically like illustrations with like gold or silver or precious stones to make them look illuminated. But yeah, look at this illustration. I believe this is Saint George and the dragon. It's a saint. If you guys don't know who Saint George is, he's a saint that kills a dragon. Are you losing frames on the BGM? I'm not sure. I mean, it's a lo-fi mix, so I don't know if it just sounds like it is, but maybe. Because I know that sound can be kind of funny with my streams. I'm gonna snooze this ad one more time just to go into the next topic, but we also have here this is a plaque with the Lion of St. Mark. So this is a piece of like almost like mini stained glass. Let me actually take a look at this one. This is, excuse me, this is, oh, it's enamel and silver. So yeah, it has a neat lion. This one's pretty small as well. And then finally, we have stained glass. This we're gonna really go into when we go into, might be on your end on mobile. Ah, I see. Yeah, I'm not seeing any drop frames so far, but do let me know. Yeah, stained glass, pretty cool. We see a lot of this with Gothic architecture, which we're gonna go into in a little bit. But these are beautiful. Like these are all made out of glass. Like you know, you can't just paint it on the glass. You have to like get every single like portion of the glass. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, these are all examples of medieval art. So yes, there are gonna be some art that you see where it's like, oh, this person who painted a lion might have never seen a lion in their life, but you also have examples like these where it's like so much ornate decoration, so much ornate detail, attention to detail. So yeah, we'll kind of go into that. Oh, actually, yeah. So right now is actually where we're going to talk a little bit about architecture. So actually, I think this is a good part for me to put you guys on an ad break. You guys can take a break. I can take a break so I can grab some water. How about this? I'll put you guys over in the cup corner. And let me see if I can play that ad right now. And by the way, even if you're not into architecture, because I definitely wasn't into it at all before I learned about it for my art history degree, this might be an interesting one because it shows like ways that you can make a building taller. So if you're, I don't know, on the Minecrafts or whatever. Romanesque sounds like a salad at a fancy restaurant. I'll have the Romanesque. You mean a Caesar salad? No, the Romanesque. As in, I want some peanuts with it. It's a Caesar salad, but with peanuts. I just made that up. I just made that up. So, okay. Speaking of, let's go ahead and put that 3-minute ad. I'm gonna get myself some drink and some food. So, see you guys in a bit. Be good. Don't eat each other. Give me a second. I'm still eating a banana. Okay, I'm back. I got myself a banana. I'm like so tempted to eat those lobster balls that are in the fridge. But I'm just like, I don't want to like, what if it did go bad? And like, what if I just start like getting sick right in the middle of my lesson? So I'm gonna wait till after. Okay, let's get back into it, shall we? So we're gonna talk about architecture, which I know if you're anything like I was before I took this one Gothic architecture class, I'd be like, snooze fest, boring. Boring, but I don't know, for me what was interesting is just seeing how pretty some of the architecture is and how it got that way, right? If you start to morb during stream, I'm beginning to morb, and then you just like see me go to the BRB screen for like 20 minutes. You're like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I got it all out. She's beginning to morb. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about architecture. Well, let's see how these pretty buildings came to be, right? So, there's actually a lot of different types of architectural styles during the medieval period. I actually thought it was just the two that I'm going to talk about. And then I did more research and it turns out there's a lot. But for today, we're going to be focusing on two styles. One of them is called Romanesque, as in like the Romans. And then the other one is Gothic, which actually doesn't have much to do with the Goth tribes that that invaded and, you know, like conquered, quote unquote conquered, like Rome, right? Also has nothing to do with the current movement of like Gothic kids, right? Gothic. So I actually do need to look into like why that is, why the Gothic subculture got that name, but we'll go into it. So we're gonna mainly be looking at churches. The Mall Visigoths, right? Exactly. So we're gonna be mainly kind of comparing and contrasting these two styles, while also adding a little bit of context to them. So I mentioned like way in the beginning, right, that the Western Roman Empire fell to a lot of like Gothic, not Gothic, Germanic tribes, and that also included the Goths. If I recall, it's because Gothic was seen as the opposite of Renaissance, Romanesque styles. Yeah, exactly. So we are going to go into that. We're going to go into like why Gothic architecture has that name. The one thing I'm not sure about is Gothic subculture. Unless that is also the reason. Because it's against, you know, like light and, you know, goodness and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the reason why Gothic architecture is called that is because it was seen as like an opposite of like Renaissance. So, and it goes into the whole like why it's called like the Middle Ages things, but let's go ahead and rewind and let's actually go to what's called like early Christian and Romanesque architecture. Because I am kind of a Gothic truther. I love Gothic architecture, and you'll see that I actually have like 4 slides dedicated to it, whereas Romanesque really just has this one slide, so it's a little unfair. But you know, I'll show you why I like it. What's a buttressing? Oh, I'll show you. We're gonna talk about some butt rests. They're even gonna fly, actually. So, yeah, after the fall of Rome, there were a bunch of different architectural styles because all of them were ruled by different I keep saying Gothic, a bunch of different Germanic tribes. Um, and then you started to see some styles called Merovingian, Carolingian. There was another one. It was like Astutism or something. But oh, Almantas, hello! Thank you for the pet. We're talking about medieval art. We talked a little bit about the different types, like what's it called? Whatchamacallit? Tapestries and stained glass and stuff. I kind of just touched on them, but this is the first time that we're gonna be going like all in onto a certain topic, which is architecture. You love it? Nice. So yeah, we're gonna look at Romanesque architecture. This actually developed over like 500 years after the fall of Rome. However, the style is seen as like it's Romanesque. Romanesque is kind of like a way of saying it's very similar to Roman styles. And it might have even, or it kind of was like inspired by Roman styles. But one thing to remember with these terms Romanesque and Gothic is that these are titles that were given to people that lived at a much later time. Like, think like the Victorians and stuff. They were looking back at this architecture and they're like, oh yes, this seems very much like the Romans. We'll call it Romanesque. And then the period that came after was like, oh, this isn't very Roman at all. I hate it. I would say it's rather Gothic. It's like those barbarian tribes that killed all the Romans. And yeah, that's kind of like the backstory as to why it's called that. So if you were to time travel to like 10th and 11th century England and Germany and France, and you were to be like, oh, I love your Romanesque architecture, they'd be like, what? They'd be like, that's a church, brother. That's our Norman church over there. And then if you went to like Gothic times, they'd be like, brother, that is that is our style of church building. I don't know what you mean by Gothic. I'm glad you pronounced Merovingian because I was sitting here trying to work out that one. Yeah, Merovingian, Carolingian. I actually don't know too much about those time periods, other than I think was Henry II. Was he Merovingian or Carolingian? I just remember because one of my favorite historical movies is the one called Lion in Winter. And I don't care that much for like Henry II, but his wife Eleanor of Aquitaine. First of all, she was played by Katharine Hepburn, who did an amazing job. And I think Henry II was played by Peter O'Toole. Their chemistry was just unbelievable. That's one of my favorite movies. Just because of like the chemistry alone. But I do believe like if you look into the history, they're either Merovingian. I think they're Carolingian. I don't remember. But yeah. So that was around like those like kind of earlier medieval times. But yeah, so the deal with Romanesque architecture is that like it was in many ways inspired by Roman architecture, and one of the main ways you see this is with the thick walls. The walls are kind of thicky, and it's because they wanted these churches to be big. But unfortunately, when it comes to like building something that's big, you need a material and you need a structure that is able to support that weight. So they needed to have heavy, thick walls. I want you to remember this because this is going to come back when we talk about Gothic architecture, because they went about it in a completely different way that allowed for different things to happen. But focusing more on Romanesque, they were focusing their buildings on buildings called basilica. These are Roman public buildings where you could have markets in them, you could have like meetings in them, and so they were pretty big, and they were held up by these big arches, these round arches. Actually, that's going to be another thing that separates Gothic architecture, is that they have broken arches while this has round arches. So let me actually do this. Let me get a picture. By the way, the cathedral that you see on the top picture, this is the cathedral at Pisa. If you look right behind the cathedral, what's that? You see that? It's a tower. One might say that it's actually leaning over here in Pisa. They like big buttresses and they could not lie. Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about what buttresses are. So, give me a second. Actually, no, I need a better picture of what buttressing looks like. Give me a second. This is a pretty good picture. Give me 1 minute to really show it to you guys. So buttressing is basically, you want to think of it like extra walls on your wall so you could wall while you wall. But basically what that means is like it's extra walls to support the structure. So if you just had these two like spires over here, maybe that might topple because it's just not there's not enough weight supporting it. But what they did is they built extra walls kind of in like a staircase configuration right here. So that's what buttressing is. When we go into Gothic architecture, they actually made it fly with wings and stuff. I'm just kidding, but I'll show you how they made it fly. But that's what buttressing is. So on these churches you might see let's see, which one is it? This one doesn't really have it, but no, it kind of does. It's like this building could have just been like this portion, right? Can we zoom in a little bit more? There you go. It really could have just been this tower, but they also have like these sloping parts over here. So that kind of counts as buttressing, but I've seen like there's better examples of what like buttressing looks like. But you just want to remember that it's like extra walls to support your wall. So here, if we take a closer look, you could see, if you see these arches here, they're round. They look like U's, but upside down, right? So that's a hallmark of like Romanesque architecture. You would see these U-shaped or these like round arches. Another thing, like I said, is the thick walls. Thick walls so that it can like withstand the structure. Oh, there's more like arches over here too. And because the walls had to be so thick, you didn't have a lot of room for windows. And if you did have windows, they would be very small. Kind of like this. And this actually reminds me a lot of castles at this time. Or not really castles, but it's the bases, the barracks. What's the word I'm looking for? But like when you're under attack by enemy tribes or enemy peoples, you want little windows so that your archers can poke their heads through, or not even their heads, but their bows and arrows through, so they could shoot the enemy. But you don't want the windows to be big enough so the enemy can see your archer. So you actually want them to be kind of small, but that also makes sense with the big thicker walls. Yeah, the arrow slits. Yeah, exactly. So this is a little bit of a carryover from that, but it's also just like a necessity because the walls have to be so thick. If you start putting windows in there, it's not going to be able to support all that weight, right? So small windows, thick walls, and round arches. This is Romanesque architecture. Let's see, what else? Round arches and a floor. Oh yeah, so the floor plan is made to resemble a cross. Let me see if I have a good picture of this. Because they're Christian, you know. Basilica, wait, give me a second. So Romanesque architecture. They're more so just kind of like straightforward straight lines. Those walls are thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. The reason why I'm saying like I want you to remember this is because Gothic is going to be almost the complete opposite of that. Of all of this. For a reason. I'm just looking for some floor plans. Floor plans is kind of where like that's where I start to lose like not lose it, but like during this part of the lesson when I was learning in college, I was starting to like lose interest. I was like, oh, we're looking at floor plans now. Boring. But actually when you look at them, they can be pretty interesting. Hello, Kale. Hello. Is this going to be on the test? There are no tests here. You just gotta give me a pet occasionally. You all pass the class. Cassava cake, let's go. I do love the cassava cake. Yeah, hello, Kale. We're learning about medieval art. We're looking at floor plans. But as you can see, don't they look like crosses, right? Basilicas. Do I have a picture of a basilica floor plan? They're a bit more straightforward like this. Like it's really just a square with some circles at the end. But it wasn't until church, or I think some of them might be like also cross-shaped, but like definitely there was intent. There was intent with making the floor plan cross-shaped. Woohoo! Your book out the window. Yeet's book out of the window. Oh no, not the books. And then lastly, another thing that you often see with this kind of architecture is something called an apse. And apse are basically like these rounded parts, especially at the very end of the church. So it's like these rounded parts where, like, if you look at, let me see if we can find a good example. And yes, this is the Wikipedia page. I use this a lot. I know a lot of people will say, like, don't just use Wikipedia, use the sources in Wikipedia. Yes, you should. But if you want a good overview, Wikipedia is just as fine. Where's the apse? Kind of this part over here. So if we're assuming that this is cross-shaped, this is one of the... Oh, look at the horse! If we're assuming that this is cross-shaped, this is going to be one of the arms of the cross. And then most likely on the other side, there's like the other arm. Over here is where the cross kind of terminates, and it's this rounded section called an apse. The reason why I bring this up is because we were playing Felvedek on Monday, and we had a little chapel. A little chapel had that little apse, which hinted to me that it's Romanesque. So here's what to remember. You know, if you're ever in a life or death situation in which you have to know the hallmarks of Romanesque architecture, is that it has thick walls, small-ish windows, heavy buttressing, as in like there's like extra walls on your wall so you could wall while you wall, and then those round arches. And then the floor plan resembles a cross. The floor plan, the cross floor plan, is also going to bleed into Gothic as well. So here we're going to get into the part that, you know, I took a class on it. I'm like a Gothic truther. We're going to have 4 slides of this. You're going to learn today. You're going to learn today about Gothic architecture because I love it so much. Even though I got a C in that class. But, but it's because it didn't click for me until the very end of the class. But by then it was too late. So let's talk about Gothic architecture. This came immediately after Romanesque architecture. And it was due to, let's see if I can remember the story. There is a basilica called the Basilica of Saint Denis, where it needed to be remodeled. And the person that remodeled it, was it Thomas? Something Thomas? I'm bad with names and specific years and specific parts of stories, but the guy who wanted to redesign and restructure this basilica, they wanted an emphasis on light and height. And like I said, with Romanesque architecture, you can't really have that because you have to have these thick walls. If you don't have the thick walls, then the entire structure quite literally falls apart. You're just going to have a lot of rubble at your feet, right? So he was thinking a lot about, well, how can I work around this, right? So this person, as well as all the other architects that eventually made like these Gothic style churches, they started experimenting with things like pointed arches, flying buttresses, vaulted ceilings. We're going to look into that in a little bit right now. And essentially what that did is it freed up a lot of wall space. So now you could have more windows, and you could have pretty windows, and you could have more regular windows that let in light, and it would celebrate God. So that's kind of the basics of architecture, but we're also going to do a little bit of a deep dive into what that all looks like. So here we have, is this the Notre Dame? Oh, it's not the Notre Dame of Paris. And by the way, I don't know any French, so I'm going to be butchering these names. I apologize. I'm going to try, but I'm going to be saying Notre Dame. I'm going to be saying Notre Dame. So they were innovating. Yes, they were innovating. They're like, I don't want to do like things the traditional way. We want it to be new and with different innovations. So let's see here. Oh yeah, so next slide. All right, guys. So each hallmark gets its own section of a slide. Isn't that cool? So before we were looking at buttresses, right? Like regular old buttresses that look like this. Your extra walls for your wall, right? They realized that, wait a minute, we could cut out all of this extra part over here to make them into flying buttresses. So here, let me see if I have a better picture. Oh, I don't have a better picture of that like black and white one, but I do have a better picture of how they look on the actual buildings. So if you look over here on the flying buttresses, there's a whole like archway here now, like all of this empty space. They realize like, oh, we could still have the buttressing, but we don't need all of that. Like, we don't need this empty space to be full of brick. It could really just be air. Like, all you really need are the arms to really support the structure itself. So that's kind of what makes them flying. They're not literally flying with wings, but they're floating in the air. They are like kind of supported by like these structures over here, but they're kind of floating. And guess what? These buttresses don't have to be all boring and stuff. They don't have to just be walls. They can have decoration. They can have a lot of decoration, actually. And if you guys want a closer look, this is on the Cologne Cathedral. Cologne Cathedral. every single one of these spires has like a whole bunch of like extra spires so you can spire while you spire, right? And these are the flying buttress parts. Like all of these parts here, they're floating. They're supported by like a tower, basically. That's what I mean by spire. But for all intents and purposes, they don't have like the brick that is kind of supporting them underneath. They're floating in the air, so to speak. But you could also decorate that with little quatrefoils, with little like these flower thingies, right? So yeah, a lot of Gothic architecture, I think one reason why I like them is because they're so ornate. Whenever someone could decorate them, they did decorate them. Like, oh, these spires, put little extra like thingies on them. These over here, let's put some flowery things. Yeah, put some flowers on that bitch, you know? Excuse my language. So like it's very ornamental. I just think that's cool. So another thing that kind of helped with this. So you got the buttresses. That's already supporting the structure. Excuse my French, exactly. They're already supporting the structure, and they also realized that those round arches that you see in Romanesque, they didn't need to be round. You could point them. You can make them, instead of an upside down U, look, you can make it an upside down V. When I was in college, they called these broken arches, but you could, I think pointed arches is a bit of a prettier name, right? So you have your pointed arches here. What that does is it actually distributes weight a little bit more efficiently than round arches. So I don't know quite the physics of it myself, but instead of distributing the weight upward, it distributes it outward. There's actually a really good video that will help us with this. So let me actually prep that. It's actually in the previous slide. With this 30 minutes 22 seconds. All right, give me a second. So yeah, one of the biggest sources that I used for this presentation is a video called Rick Steves' Art of the Middle Ages. There's this guy that tours all around, he does trips all around Europe. He talks a little bit about art, and he has a very calming voice. It's almost like an old school documentary. So let's go to 30. He's also a tour guide, and he talks about like how he teaches this to other people. So let's actually take a look at that right now. Let me cut out the medieval lo-fi. Oh yeah, the Baby Beans charity bash. I already donated, but you guys, if you want to donate for the sake of cancer research, she's doing an 8-hour stream. Cause I'm thinking near me, ooh you. All right, so here's how he talks about Gothic architecture, or rather like the stuff like the buttresses and the pointed arches. This part. Ah, there we go. It pushes it down. We're gonna use people. Thick. Yeah, there you go. See, those are the buttresses. They're flying. Flying butts. Yay! Yahoo! I love that demonstration because, like I said, in college, I did not understand any of that. I was like, what the heck is a buttress? I think it's because, like, the professor that taught it, she was really good at her job, but I think you were supposed to come in with a little bit of architecture knowledge already, and I had zero. Like, literally zero. So when who was it? Was it Pec School or someone else that asked what is buttressing? That was me in class. That was except I was too shy. I was too shy to actually raise my hand and ask, "Oh, what's buttressing?" So kind of just completely went over my head and I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm not going to know what buttressing is or flying buttressing." So whatever. And then it wasn't until like the end, like literally I want to say like the week before my final, that I'm like, "Oh, it's clicking for me now." Buttressing is those really cool arm thingies on the sides of the churches, and the pointed arches, they help distribute the weight, so it just makes sense. Me, a heathen going to church. Ah yes, look at this medieval and gothic influence. That's exactly what you could do, Idol. That's exactly what I do as a fellow heathen. That's just like, wow, look at these pointed arches, so pretty. You can do that. You can do that. So yeah, that's what the pointed arches do. They distribute the weight out. So even if the arch itself collapses, the rest of the structure around it won't collapse. Some might, of course, but he made the point that with Romanesque, if that arch collapses, everything around it collapses, because that's the thing that's holding up all the weight. So yeah. In addition to that, we get these ribbed vaulted ceilings. This was another vocab term that I had no idea what it meant. Basically, it means that the ceilings were a little bit more ornate, and you want to kind of imagine it like the pointed arches are extending so far that they're actually combining at the very top. And I didn't quite understand this until I saw how the opposite looked. I saw how it looked in Romanesque architecture. So if we want, we can compare and contrast. Let me actually close a couple of windows so that I don't get too confused. Let me get this picture. Yeah, this one. Okay, so compare this. Now that you know a little bit about Gothic, let's look at Romanesque, which is still very beautiful in its own way. But like I said, I'm such a Gothic truther that I'm like, it's not the same. It's not as good. Because you see it has the rounded arches, but look at the roof. That's what I want to kind of like draw your attention to, is look at the roof. For one, I do like the ornamentation with like the kind of alternating colors. And then if you see at the very top of each pillar, there's actually like some decoration here. There's some floral decoration. But here's what I want you guys to look at. It's round. It's U-shaped. It's an upside down U, right? And it's like that all the way down. All the way down. Actually, until the end. That's when it gets a little bit different. It's like that all the way down. So it distributes weight just fine, right? But if we look at... Let's get this one. If we look at this, look at how much ornamentation there is. And look, this is what the ceiling looks like in comparison to this. So this is nice, right? This is nice, but dang. Like, look at that. They put a freaking flower on the roof there. And then you see here the pillars, instead of like ending with like a nice little decoration, it extends into the roof. Look at that. And this actually does the same thing that the pointed arches do. They kind of distribute the weight a little bit better. I'm thinking that it's so interesting that we take things for granted. They changed them for the arches, but it's better this way. But this is humanity understanding architecture a bit better. A bunch of people that really studied this building and said, this is how this works. Yeah, that's also what kind of clicked for me. Like I said, like architecture for me, is, like for the most part, was like, oh no, that's totally fine, Pec School. You put it like beautifully. It's one of those things that I didn't quite understand of like, oh, what's the big deal? You know, it's a building, it gives you shelter, you can do what you want. But now with like all of these advances in architecture, the big thing is now you had room to put windows. You had room to put like beautiful images and stuff, so you can decorate a little bit more. So yeah, applied physics and function and form. Yeah, I would imagine they probably practiced with like miniatures, and then they started like putting this into effect with their buildings, right? I don't know if they like started small and then they like built up towards these things, but it's also you also see transitions in between Romanesque and Gothic. It's not like all of a sudden snap, you know, like no more Romanesque, it's all Gothic. There was a little bit of transition. So you might have seen some Gothic cathedrals that they weren't this ornate, but they had the pointed arches, right? But they probably still had like the U-shaped ceilings, right? And then afterwards someone was like, oh, what if we put some buttresses into that? Or what if we put some like fancy ceilings in? Then like little by little, that's what kind of like developed into what we know as like Gothic architecture. And it's the same with Romanesque too. Like it wasn't just like all of a sudden like, oh yeah, we're gonna use some round arches, we're gonna put some thick walls on that. It was what's the word I'm looking for? Incremental. They did it like in increments. Evolution of pillars to arches, pillars and stuff. Yeah, exactly. And I love how you put it, Peck School, because it's like a lot of people, like humanity as kind of a whole, or at least this population of humanity, realizing like this could be better. This could be better, and we can have different uses for this building now. So I think that's really cool, right? So we have that picture, we have this picture, there we go. Eventually all the to egg-shaped buildings, exactly. Like the one, isn't there an egg in like London or something? It's an egg-shaped building. It's like a Fabergé egg. So with this, oh, this is one of my favorites. I don't really have any intentions of visiting Europe anytime soon. But if I do, I would want to visit this church. This is Saint Chapelle, San Chapelle. Yeah, London with its egg. This is Saint Chapelle. It's really pretty. Look at the roof. Look at the roof of it. It has that arch that's extending all the way up. Wait, let me use my pointer properly. The arch kind of extends so far up that it becomes part of the ceiling. And then these like beautiful iridescent, like really colorful things that you see on the walls. Those are windows. Those are all windows. Now that you've freed up all this space from the walls, now that it's being supported by the flying buttresses and the arches and the ceiling, you can actually fill in those walls. They don't need to be thick anymore. They can be thin, they can be skeletal. You could fill them up with windows. And those windows don't just have to be like clear glass. You can make them colorful windows. You can make them stained glass windows. And that's what we're seeing here, right? So not only do you have all the support to build up, you have also all the support to include some more light in there. So that's why when you study Gothic architecture, for sure your professor is going to say something like, Gothic architecture is all about light and height. So more light into the building and more height. So now you can build higher, you can build taller. Looks like a Wes Anderson film. Yeah, I agree. It looks so pretty. And yeah, probably the saturation is very, very up, but it's still pretty. It's still so pretty. Let's see if we can zoom into this one. Here we go. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, the saturation's definitely up, but but it's still pretty nonetheless. You can see that each one of these is like a window. Literally a window. Hello, Gojikins. Hello. Yeah, pet Mr. Pancakes. Did it show up? Did the visual show up for petting Mr. Pancakes? I actually wasn't paying attention. And there you go. You can pet him. But hello, Gojikins. We're looking at... It did? Cool. We're looking at Gothic architecture. Gothic. So yeah, look. This also, look at the scale. These are the people. This is how big the church is. I like the ceiling, too. I like that design. Oh, thanks for the pet, Matthew. Thank you. Yeah, isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. Like, all of this, which, like, if it was Romanesque, this would all be walls, right? But now it's windows, and now when the light shines through it, it gives you, well, I was gonna say like a spiritual experience, because that's kind of the intent. The intent was to give you a spiritual experience, that like when the light hits it just right, you see all this colorful light, this majesty, and that's supposed to be one of those, like, this is the majesty of God, of Jeebus. So yeah, there's that, and then let's see. There we go. There's another example of a Gothic cathedral. This is in London. Or York. I don't know my British geography that well, but this is in York. This is what they call perpendicular architecture. When the light hits it just right, you can hear all the money it costs to install this. Exactly. That's why I think a lot of cathedrals, they're built over the course of years. Especially, you want to keep in mind that this is like in the medieval times. So they didn't have like big cranes. They probably would have used like a lot of scaffolding to like put this all together, which makes it even more impressive in my opinion. So yeah, it definitely had to cost a lot of money. Like a lot. So yeah. I'm sure they knocked that out in a weekend. I know, they just really locked in, right? As the kids say. As the medievalists say. Sir, we have to lock in. And lock in we shall. As soon as we have our breakfast of dippy eggs and soldiers. god, I love that term so much. Me and Beans, we clown on it, but it's such a cute term. If you guys don't know what dippy eggs and soldiers are, it's soft boiled egg, and then the soldier is a piece of bread that you dip into the yolk. Mayhaps we lock in, my lord. Exactly. In our city, it still takes decades for a project to be finished. That too. This isn't such a medieval thing. Like, in fact, what if the medieval folks were just faster than us? Because they were locking in, my lord. Meanwhile, this time it's like, we don't have the funding. There's all this red tape. And, politics. Am I right? But yeah, so that's basically Gothic architecture in a nutshell. You have the pointed arches. You have the fancy ceilings. You got your complicated shoes. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's all very ornamental. Lots of light, lots of height, lots of ornaments. And I think it's neat. I just think it's neat. The last slide for Gothic architecture is, of course, the windows. They're probably faster and probably safer. Maybe. That I haven't looked into. I know that with I don't look too much into Egyptian architecture, but they're one of the most famous like primary sources from Egyptian like building culture is there is a list of builders of the pyramids and why they couldn't come into work that day. And it was stuff like, I was out drinking yesterday and now I'm hungover. And one of them was like, I got stung by a scorpion. My wife is bleeding down there and I have to be there for her. So I don't know, that just reminds me of like, yeah, like I wonder if they had something similar from medieval time where it's like, Johannes, his wife is bleeding down there and he has to be there for support. And Johannes Sr. was stung by a spider. When did the treadwheel crane come about? After or before? That I'm actually not sure. Let's see if we can research that right now. So tread wheel crane. Oh, this looks, I'm getting a medieval illustration from this. Look. So I guess ancient Rome. Wow. So it's older than medieval. It's ancient Roman. So you get the Middle Ages, the High Middle Ages. Very cool. Oh, cool. You can even see it here in the background. Very, very neat. So yeah, I guess they did have fancy tools. So it wasn't just scaffolding. I was wrong. Thank you. Thank you. He has to be sure that she doesn't touch anything or leave the fancy pillow or else she'll kill me. In Pentiment with the Latinist, you can understand the Roman miners complaining in the salt mine. It reminded me of that. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, like for sure there were probably like how construction workers are nowadays. There for sure was probably like a similar culture, like with building the pyramids, building the cathedrals. No matter what time period, you're gonna have people laying around being like, "Man, can you believe what they pay us? A single loaf of bread? Can you believe it? I can't." I too am complaining in the salt mines. But the children, you see, they yearned for the mines. They yearned for it. But yeah, so the reason why I put up this cool picture of are these saints? I actually forgot. This is the Virgin Mary and 5 standing saints. Yeah. So this is stained glass. And these are just examples of stained glass that you would see in these Gothic cathedrals. And you can definitely see that they're very ornate, right? Like, I keep using this word ornate. Basically, they're just very decorated. There's a lot of detail. And this is what you would see. And sometimes the big thing with like saints, for example, is like they needed to be easy to identify. Which is going to actually transition us into the next topic, which... If you remember, we were going over the 3 reasons why medieval art has the reputation it does. One of them is kind of this oversimplification of what medieval art is. And then next is because there are examples of medieval art that are kind of, not as aesthetically pleasing. And the reason for that is because for a lot of different genres of medieval art, the focus was not on being realistic, not on being aesthetically pleasing at all times. It was clarity. it was you had to be able to tell a story. The art didn't. So there's actually a quote from Rick Steves' video that I showed you earlier. The art didn't need to be realistic as long as it told a story. Later on in the video, he says, and as long as it inspired worship. So here we have 4 medallions. These are Byzantine, I believe. Yeah, these are Byzantine. So these have 4 different figures here, and this kind of imagery had to be very clear so that people could tell who was who. Now you could say, Binka, look, there's letters on them. You could just read, and if you did know how to read, you could actually identify who is who. The only thing is that not everyone knew how to read back then, or even nowadays, really. But after the fall of Rome, I put here Christianity became a uniting factor, but not everyone could read. So not everyone could read the Bible. Because another thing is that Bibles were kind of hard to come by because of the materials it took to make them. We'll actually go into that when we talk about illuminated manuscripts. So the only way for a lot of, for example, like peasantry to learn about biblical stories was to go to mass, to go to church, and then they would have to have some imagery to go along with that. So like these medallions, remember the saints? They're back in Pog form. Can you imagine saints with Pogs with saints on them? Oh my gosh. But that's exactly what these are, actually. Now, they're medallions, but I'm pretty sure you could use them as pogs. But yeah, so you had to go to sermon, you had to go to church in order to learn the stories. But then when you looked at pictures of each of the saints and each of the figures, you had to be able to tell who was who. So they had to be clear with a lot of symbolic, what's called mnemonic devices. And I like this term mnemonic device. Basically, it's a memory trick, right? It's a way that you can remember who is who or what is what. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a quiz right now for 0 points because the points don't matter. Which one of these 4 here is Jesus? Because Jesus is in here. Is he the one in the top left, the top right, the bottom left, or the bottom right? Sorry, my cursor. So top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right. And once you've identified which one is Jesus, why do you think that one is Jesus? Like what do you see that tips you off as to like which one is Jesus? So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to do that. I need to drink some water. So I'm gonna mute for a second, but yeah, feel free to. We already got some responses in the chat, so go ahead and tell me why you think bottom left is Jeebus. Why is it him? Actually, my nose is really itchy again, so I'm gonna wash it. That'll give you guys some more time to respond if you want. The responses we got so far are pretty good. He does look quite Jesus-y, right? All right, nose is washed. It's not itchy anymore. Okay, so let's see what we got so far. So Idol says bottom left, and then same with Peck's cool. He looks Jesus-y. Idol tipped me off. The halo with the 3 things coming out of it. Yeah, they each have a halo, right? And Gojikins' top right is like, come on, man. He does kind of look like that. Makes him look extra important. I also guess bottom left because of the halo. Nice. The hand with the... I love the emoji. That is what he's doing, yeah. Only 2 of them have it. The top one is bald. Yeah, you're right. The top left, he has that little tonsure, right? The little bald spot. Top right has that bruh energy. I love that. Let me see if I can remember who's who. I think, let's see. So top left is St. Luke? Let me see. Yeah, that's Saint Luke. I can read a little bit of Cyrillic, which is what the alphabet, or maybe this is Greek. I think this is actually Greek. I can't tell. Oh no, it's Byzantine. It's Byzantine, so it would be like near like where modern day Turkey, Greece, like Eastern Europe would be. So it could be either. It could either be like Cyrillic or Greek. But yeah, so the top left is Lucas, because that top character, I don't remember if that's Lambda or another one, but it says Lucas. Top right is, I think that's John. I think that's John the Baptist, because he kind of looks like a wild man. Bottom right is Paul, because the characters say Paulos. And then bottom left, you guys got it. Ding, ding, ding. You guys got it. It's Jesus. It's Jeebus, the Son of God. Top right also has the lambda. Yeah, exactly. It does. So that's, what does that say? It says all, the like left side. Let me use my pointer. This says, oh, that's pi, I think, right? Orp. Does that say orp? This one also has the lambda. I think this is Saint John the Baptist. I just don't remember what this character is. I think that's supposed to be a D. So I can't really read that one that well. But this one I can, because this is pi. So that would be Paul and then lambda, Paulos. And then, let's see. Is this G? So Agio Paulos? But yeah, this is Saint Paul. This is John the Baptist. And then Lucas. Or Luke. This is Lucas. And this is Jeebus. Let's see. I was gonna say top left Lucas, bottom right Marcos. Not sure his name in English. Oh, Mark. It would be Mark. Yeah, 2 out of 4, not bad. Yeah, good job. So yeah, so this is Jesus, and you guys are exactly right. The way that you, as well as people in medieval times, would have been able to tell them apart is with certain symbolism, right? Or certain symbols. So with Jesus, he always has this halo with the 3 things coming out. It's actually supposed to be a cross, but you can't see the bottom half of the cross because it's being covered by his head and his neck. But yeah, so in medieval art, if you are wondering which one is Jesus, you just have to look for the guy with this kind of halo. But also everyone else looks a little bit different in their own way. So Luke has the tonsure, has the bald spot. Paul also seems to be balding in a way. He's also shown with a book. I think both of them are shown with books, I want to say. Hand symbols are also really good tip-off. So yeah, the symbol that Jesus is doing is a blessing. I'm not sure what John the Baptist is doing. He really does look like he's just saying bruh. But another thing with John the Baptist is he's usually shown as like almost like a wild man. Like his hair is always like kind of disheveled. Because I think the deal with him, I haven't brushed up on my biblical studies lately, but he kind of lived in the wild, but he would baptize other people. Bottom half is tucked into his collar. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. Probably doing what he does best, talking at people. Exactly. He do be talking. So yeah, like that's just a good example right now of like how you can identify different characters or different people from the Bible just off of the symbols that they have. Nowadays with like anime or VTubers, you could identify through like hair color or like eye color or certain like parts of their design, right? Like if you were to show me, let me see if I can do this right now. I need some hearts. I'm gonna do a specific combination of hearts. There you go. Oh yeah, Oshi marks. Well, duh. Yeah, Oshi marks also works. Yes, exactly. But if I show you that combination of hearts, right? Like, I think some of you might know like who those little hearts are referring to. But yeah, so stuff like that has always helped. But that was also a bit more of a. That was also a bit more of the point with medieval art is that it was supposed to be a little bit clearer, so people were able to know the stories. The big thing though is that with these what is clear to medieval priests and monks and peasants might not be clear to us in the 21st century. So you want to think of some of these as memes that were lost in translation, and to kind of highlight that, we're going to look at marginalia and eliminated manuscripts. So, oh yeah, so you can ignore this part over here. I use that in my classes to talk about symbols, but it's good to sailing the same boat, boys. You're with me, not alone. But yeah, let's take a look at these emojis really quickly. So we have a skull, a fire emoji, and a clown emoji. So the way that we can read these emojis, especially here in 2025, especially if you're of like a certain age group or if you are online a lot, they might read different than, say, someone who like is a boomer or Gen X or an older millennial, right? They'd be like, oh, are you hoping that I die in a fire? Like, from like a circus, whereas like someone else might interpret this as like, oh, I'm dead from laughter. That fit is so fire. You're really a clown right now. So that's an example, right? Like for us, like the skull, fire, and clown emoji like have a certain set of meanings, but if you take it out of its context, people might just be like, what? Like why are you sending me a skull emoji? Are you gonna kill me? Why are you sending me the fire emoji? Are you gonna kill me with fire? Why are you sending the clown emoji? Are you gonna send a circus after me? Alpaca, hello. Welcome. You just got to the part where we're gonna be looking at illuminated manuscripts. But hello, I hope you're doing good. You're not too late? No, we talked a bit about what's it called? We talked a bit about medieval architecture, which I think I've been doing a good job of like spacing out certain things so that I can edit this into a good VOD. But yeah, the donkey eating figs is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Killed by the flaming clowns, obviously. Can you imagine that's how anthropologists are going to be reading our like messages to each other? It's like, there seems to be this this threat of the flaming clowns just killing each other. We liken it to the what's it called? The Black Plague. HDTQW5, hello. I didn't think I'd make it, but I did. I'm glad. Yeah, we did talk about the Goths. The awesome Goths. So now we're talking about how medieval art, they focused a lot on clarity over realism or beauty. So some of the things that you're going to see might look strange, but because it had a specific meaning associated with it back in the day. They used those ring doorbell vids of creepy clowns from the dark time. Oh my gosh, I kind of forgot about that. Rin, hello. Welcome. So let's look at some illuminated manuscripts. Oh yeah, so before we look at the manuscripts, one of my favorite topics when it comes to medieval art is ugly baby Jesus. Why he look like that? Why does baby Jesus look like that? Why does he look like a balding middle-aged man, right? So this is actually a good example of what we mean by like symbols that might have fallen out of favor or like people just don't know about them anymore. So yeah, hello Rin, hello Alpaca, hello HDTQW5. I'm glad you guys could stop by. So let's look at this picture real quick. Actually, let me get the original source so we could zoom into it as well. There we go. This is from the Met Museum. So this is probably one of the main examples when people talk about like kind of quote unquote ugly medieval art, right? So you have here Mama Mary. Her wrinkles are very like out there. They might not look very realistic. Her hands, for example. But they didn't need to be realistic. Like I said, if you traveled back in time and you showed them a photorealistic Mama Mary, they'd be like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted at all. I want my money back. And then here we have baby Jesus, who, by the way, if you take a really close look at his halo. Remember, it has the little three things? That's actually, he looks like Seinfeld. Ain't no way. What's the deal with my mother? What's the deal with this crayon I'm holding? Isn't this supposed to be the medieval times? How are they having crayons in the church? It's funny, me and Beans were literally just watching Seinfeld before this because he wanted to find like a very specific quote by George. It was this quote where he was like, all those cool people and their complicated shoes. So we actually like rewatched an episode of it. But yeah, the receding hairlines. He needs Rogaine, poor guy. He looks like he's seen some ish. But yeah. So yeah, we know this is Jesus because he has the cross in his halo and he's being held by Mama Mary. So the thing though is the reason why he kind of looks like a middle-aged man is one theory is called the homunculus theory. This idea that Jesus is back then wasn't supposed to be seen as a baby. He's God after all, right? At least like in Christian belief. He is God, he's the son of God, but he's also God. And to portray him as a baby would be to portray him as something that, you know, could associate with weakness, frailty. You know, babies can't take care of themselves, right? Like, they need someone else to take care of them. But why would you want to show God as something that needs help from human beings, from a mother, right? So one reason why he was probably portrayed as like a miniature, fully grown man is to show that he was never in this frail state. He was never a baby per se. He was born already like being all-knowing, being omniscient, omnipresent, whatever the omnis are. So that's one reason why they would show him this way, to like show the symbolism that medieval people back in the day would have recognized the symbol of like, oh, you're showing God as like a fully formed human, a miniature one, but he's Omni-Man. Oh my gosh. You see this Mother Mary, you see this Mama Mary, you see what they need to get a fraction of our power. Yeah, omnipotent. There we go. Yeah, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipresent. Yeah, exactly. He is to be seen as a little guy. Exactly. They wanted to avoid that in medieval times. They didn't want him to be a little guy. They wanted him to be a big little guy. Personally, I like Jesus growing as a human, but that's interesting. Right? No, that's how I feel too. And that's actually why you started to see that shift when we get to places like the Renaissance, where they did show baby Jesus as a baby. And actually what's interesting is in one of my research topics when I was in college was about the Santo Niño. This is a Filipino religious icon, and it's baby Jesus. And what I noticed with the worship of baby Jesus as the Santo Niño in the Philippines, the Santo Niño, is that there was almost this like adoration, I feel like is a good word. There's this adoration for baby Jesus as like at one point he was a baby. He was a child that grew up and like kind of like became the son of God rather than being born like already perfect. One of my favorite things about that is the gospel of the infant Christ. I think I talked about this before, but it's such a funny like gospel because you're seeing Jesus as a kid acting like a kid. Like a kid unfortunately falls off a building and everyone accuses this child Jesus of throwing him off the building. And what child Jesus does is he revives the kid. And he's like, I need you to tell them that I didn't throw you off the building, so I don't get in trouble, right? Like that's so Jesus, but that's so child, right? That's so like human. And I think that's what people also appreciate of that, is that you're also seeing Jesus as like, he's not just a God and a son of God, he's also human. So revives the kid and does it again. If you don't tell them that I didn't kill you, I'm going to kill you. And this time I'm not going to revive you. Let me catch up. But yeah, I feel the same, Rin. I feel the same that like I personally, for me, in my personal kind of philosophy of Jesus, I like the idea that he's also part human. And that he grows into this idea of being Jesus Christ. So, let's see. Octatonic. Hux, but as a big, strong man. So yeah, I'm with you there. But in medieval times, they wanted to portray Jesus as always having been like the perfect man, the perfect God. Love me some growth. Yes, 100%. So yeah, that's like a good way to kind of illustrate this idea of like clarity over beauty. It didn't need to be beautiful. It just needed to tell a story. So with that, we can also go into eliminated manuscripts. Oh no, give me a second. I did the transitions wrong. And actually we do have an ad break coming up. So if he's so perfect, why is he eating crayons? I think that's supposed to be a book in profile, but it does look like a crayon. How did he get that? How did he know? So I'm going to fix one of the slides during the ad break, but I will put you guys in an ad break. So yeah, November, I'm going to show you something. Oh, and Beans is asking if I want Uber Eats, so I'm also going to do that. So let's go ahead and put you guys in recess. I'll be back in 3 minutes once I fix this slide and get me some Uber Eats. Yahoo! Creation of crayon foreshadowing. He really is all-knowing. Wow. Alright, I'll see you guys after the ad break. Okay, we're back. We're so back. Did you guys eat the cars again? Did you guys cry on the Itasha again? I'm so pentiment filled. Ooh, you're gonna like this next part then. He's Jesus. He uses Jesus powers to reach into the future to get a crayon. Makes sense, right? He's Jesus. He could do whatever he wants. In November, the farmers take the pigs out to feed the acorns before the slaughter. Yeah, okay, we're gonna go into that. You're gonna like this this next part. Ooh, eh. You guys were well behaved. I'm glad. I'm glad. Okay, so let's get into the next part. I fixed the slide, I think. Yeah! Get a load of this! I used the art from Pentiment. So, we're gonna talk about illuminated manuscripts now. These are illustrated books. These are handwritten and hand decorated before the printing press. Yeah, and if you played Pentiment or if you watched my playthrough of Pentiment, a lot of this is going to be very familiar because the main character, Andreas Mahler, was an artist. He was a traveling artist, or he was doing his journeyman phase, right? Of yeah, see? So he's doing his like journeyman part of being an artist, right? And he was making illuminated manuscripts in Kiersau Abbey, right? Alongside all the monks like Piero and what's his face? Guy Fieri, Adoc. Handwritten, hand decorated, hand stolen. Exactly. So yeah, as you can see here, they were made by monks in abbeys, but later on they started to get so popular that artists like Andreas Mahler and merchants would actually get to making them as well. But this was because the back then, like I said, a lot of people were okay. So this is where it gets kind of shaky. The reputation when it comes to medieval like, what's the word I'm looking for? Literacy is that like, oh, everyone in medieval times was illiterate except for like the people that worked in the churches. Kind of yes, kind of no. It's more so that people weren't literate in the popular language or the official language. So if the official language of a land was Latin or English, or I don't know, like I think in most cases it would have been Latin, the peasantry might have not known how to read and write in that language. But they might have known how to read in the vernacular language, which is just a fancy way of saying like the local language. So you might have had people that couldn't read Latin, couldn't write in Latin, but they could read in English. They could write, or like old English, or like a version of like older modern English. Or they could read and write in German, or they can read and write in a specific type of German, like, I don't know, Austrian, Bavarian, you know? So, it's a bit of a misnomer to say that everyone was illiterate, or it's actually more accurate to say that more people were literate, just not in the language that you would expect. But there was most likely also a lot of people that were just straight up illiterate because, you know, they were farmers. They wouldn't always need that. They wouldn't always need to know how to read. As long as they knew how their crops were doing and where to sell them and who to give them to, they didn't always need it. So it's a little bit more complex than that. But back then, the people that were known for being able to read and write would be the monks, because the church is usually like the entity that had the most power in any given like region. So that's where you had all of the bookmaking, all the illustration. That's where you were able to get all the art supplies, because if you think art supplies are expensive now, man, like you had to get it like custom made. All of the paints and stuff, all their pigments come from natural resources. For example, the color red comes from a bug called cochineal, which you would find in like Mesoamerica, stuff like that. But you needed to get every single little bug and squish it to make that red color. Same with purple. One reason why purple has the reputation that it does as like a royal color or a rare color is because in nature, it's actually really rare to find purple or find it in a way that you could turn it into a pigment. There's lots of purple flowers, but if you squish them and you try to turn them into pigment, they're not going to be purple. They might be something like coffee color or like green. You need good mummies for a good brown. Exactly. But yeah, I think the purple, it can either come from minerals, at least in Mesoamerica it comes from minerals, and then in the old world, as they used to call it, you would need like sea snails. I forgot what part of the sea snails, but like that's how you get like a good purple. So it's actually really rare. So only royalty were able to afford it back then. That's why it has that association. Same kind of with blue, but blue was a little bit more available. Wahi orpal. So as you can see, my fur means that I am of a high status. Not really, but people, the lords of the land, would be paying double in order to get a picture of the BINKA bear, right? Oh yeah. By the way, there is a There's a strange cat in my room. It's not Shnekri, it's not Gino. It's Beans' Hey! The way he meows is like a honk. What's up, buddy? It's Beans' grandma's cat. We're cat sitting for a little bit. He sounds like he honks, right? He's like, ah! So yeah, he's kind of wandering around. We're not used to him because hey, he's putting his paws on me. Hey, buddy, what's up? I think he wants pets. He like went on hind legs. He went on his hind legs and he like put his paws on my chair and then on my shirt. He's like, why aren't you petting me? Why? So yeah, sometimes he does that, and sometimes he just hides in our closet until we like least suspect it. Pet the cat IRL, exactly. He was demanding it. He was demanding the pets. And if I didn't, he was gonna shoot me. He's gonna kill me. Alright, let's get back to manuscripts. So yeah, the church, because it had all the money and power, they're the only ones who could afford art supplies, and these were the places where books and stuff would be made. Manuscripts and stuff would be made. Art and stuff would be made. So for that reason too, that's why the most popular type of illuminated manuscript is called a Book of Hours. And if you remember Pentiment, either the playthrough or you played it yourself, the first two parts, the days are split up into specific I guess time periods called stuff like what is it? Vespers was one of them. Nones was one of them. I forgot the other ones, but I just remember Vespers for obvious reasons. But yeah, that's the Book of Hours would be kind of broken up that way, but it would also have stuff like different prayers, like your Hail Marys, your Lord's Prayer, that kind of stuff. And then you also had scenes like what you see on the screen right now. This was actually heavily influenced by a Book of Hours called Très Riche Ur, which I'm not saying that right. I don't know French, like I said. Très Riche Ur or something like that. But the rich hours of the Duke of Berry. Yeah, exactly, alpaca. Yeah, that's like one of the first things I remember learning in like art history. Not 101, but 102. It was like the follow-up to 101. Yeah, you remember, exactly. Yeah, so this is one of the first things that you learn, because this is right at the cusp of like medieval and Renaissance art, because you start to see things like overlap. Like nowadays when you look at art, there are certain things that people take for granted, like this idea of like, oh, objects overlap each other, which shows an illusion of depth. Because what you see before that is stuff that didn't overlap. It's stuff like, I want you to imagine like Egyptian art, where there is sometimes overlap, but it's not, it wouldn't show like a sense of distance. It would just show a sense of like, oh, there's like 20 soldiers in this army. So yeah, like this idea of like overlapping figures. Like if you look at this artwork, let me see. Give me a second. Oh, where's my highlight? No, I didn't mean to do that. So over here, you see, what is this? Big Jorg, Peter, and what was the wife's name again? But they're sowing acorns for the swine, for the piggies before the slaughter. So they're here in the foreground. Behind Big Jorg is a fence and some trees. And behind that, all the way in the distance, and it looks smaller, is the mill, right? That wasn't as common back then. So this is showing that this is like starting to transition into the Renaissance. So, let me go back to OBS. This is heavily influenced by the work of the Limburg brothers. So this is the original. This is the original, showing the farmers feeding the pigs. And as you can see, if you look at the top, you're actually seeing a miniature version of a calendar. You're seeing the scorpion on the left side. Actually, we can do this. We could zoom in a little bit better through here. Let's see if I can open this in a new tab. There we go. Merrick Ishtar, hello! Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the raid. We're doing an educational stream today. Yeah, we need some education. Ooh, you're playing System Shock. How's that game? I'm here to get my edumacation, and edumacation you shall get. We're learning about medieval art. We're looking at something called illuminated manuscripts. Let me show off here. Yeah, we're looking at these like handwritten and hand decorated books that were made by monks and stuff. So hello, Merrick, hello, Gerzigler. Hello. It's fun, but I need critical thinking to beat it. Oh no, that's my weakness, critical thinking. But cool. So thank you again for the raid. If you have to do any post-stream care, no worries at all. But if you want to stay and learn a little bit more about medieval art, feel free. I'm glad to have you here. And thank you. So yeah, we're learning about illuminated manuscripts now. And I was pointing out how if we go to the zoomed in portion, here we have a little bit of a mini calendar. So you see here, Novembus. That doesn't say October. What does that say? I think these are shortenings. I can't tell, but I can tell that this is Sagittarius, Scorpius. And then you have the symbols for the scorpion and the archer here. So this is showing the precession of time, right? While you're getting edumacated, don't forget to get your 1 point channel redeem, your daily sniff of sticker based off Filipino desserts. Thank you, Matthew, for reminding them. But yeah, so this is the original work, and then this is what the Andrea Smaller, the Pentiment version, is based off of. So yeah, stuff like that. But before we had even the actually we need to go all the way back. Let's go to medieval art. The Book of Kells. This is another example of an illuminated manuscript. Good evening, George. I fell back in my chair, like Paul Blart falling out of an air vent. Oh no, I hope you're okay. But yeah, so this is another example of a illuminated manuscript, but it's much older. This is actually closer to the beginning of the medieval period. You were in the Matthew raid? Nice! Grill raid! But yeah, so I kind of like comparing and contrasting the two, because this is like at the very end of the medieval period, so you start to see things, like I said, like overlap. You start to see richer colors. You start to see like this illusion of what is it, like distance, right? But you gotta go. No worries. Good night, George. But yeah, so you start to see all of these hallmarks of like new art. But if you go all the way back, you see that they still have their own definition of like beautiful art, because look at all this decoration. By the way, this is Jesus. He has these flowing locks of hair, but which makes him a little bit different from like the usual iterations of Jesus that we usually see. But you could tell that it's Jesus because he has the cross above him. Another piece of like medieval memes that I forgot to mention is there's lots of animal symbolism. Here on either side of Jesus are two peacocks. You can kind of tell because of these tail feathers that go all the way down. Peacocks are associated with this idea of rebirth. So you often see them with Jesus for that reason. The DNA of the soul. So yeah, like this is Jesus. He has the cross. He has the peacocks. He has the book, right? And even though you might not have a lot of the details that we're seeing in this one, like the rich colors and the this illusion of depth and space, you still see like different types of decoration, different types of ornamentation here. Like look at all of the detail in his hair. Look at all these different curls. Look at all of like the details here in the borders. This is all very based on like what's it called? Nordic tradition. It's Celtic tradition. He is staring into your soul. He is, in fact, staring into all our souls. He died for us. So, yeah. I think what's really cool, too, is if we zoom in even more, enhance. All of these little decorations are snakes and creatures. They all have little heads and stuff. Oh my god, he's really, like, staring into your soul. Is this supposed to be his lips? Or is this supposed to be his lips? He looks like a lion or a bear, which might have also been like a piece of like, you know, medieval memes, right? Medieval symbolism. Because like the lion is usually associated with courage. The bear is usually associated with strength. Right? So even in my opinion, the Book of Kells, which is what this one is called, and the Traderish Ur, they both have different ideas of beauty and symbolism, but they're both really like detailed in their own ways. Like, look at all this. Like, there's all the curlicues here, and then look at all the details here. It's really cool. That's why, like I said, I'm a medieval art truther. I think all of it is just really neat. So yeah, those are just two examples of illuminated manuscripts. Oh yeah, I went all the way back, so let's go all the way forward. Here we go. So yeah, that was the Book of Kells. That dates back to the 9th century, so like the 800s. And then Treirish Ur, the Duc de Berry, which is like right on the cusp of becoming Renaissance. So to really kind of nail in the comparison to Pentiment, so you play as Andreas Mahler in Pentiment, where you're an artist who, you're not a monk, but you are working with monks at the abbey. But it's even noted in the game that like, oh, you don't really see that anymore because after a while, the idea of making illuminated manuscripts started to fall out of fashion. And that's because of the invention of something called the printing press. So if you guys don't know how printing presses work, basically one person just cuts a bunch of letters out of wood and sets them all up kind of in a row so that they can spell things out. Yeah, Gutenberg. Yeah, that's the name of the person that invented the printing press. It's was it Johannes Gutenberg? This was like in the 1400s. So now it was so much faster to make books instead of having to wait for a monk to handwrite every section of the Bible, which could take years, maybe even decades, right? And then you needed the illustrations, which would always also take some additional time. Now you could just do it automatically or semi-automatically, right? You just had to arrange the letters and just have it print on the paper. The big thing with this though, there's this theme, right, of like people not liking the unfamiliar, the new. I found out in my research that actually when the printing press first came out, people didn't like it because they saw it as kind of like the lazy way out, right? Luddites. No, yeah, people didn't like it because they like the quote unquote real thing. They like the handwritten Bibles with the beautiful illustrations. So in order to compete, people who were printmakers, they would actually commission artists to work alongside them. And you do see a little bit of that in Pentiment. The main printmaker, Klaus, his wife was actually like the person making the illustrations. So it kind of had a little bit of the old school and the new school feel to it. So there's that, right? So, but unfortunately, after a while, the whole idea of just using the printing press was a lot more convenient. It was a lot cheaper, and eventually that meant the end of illuminated manuscripts, unless you get like a specialized one. You kind of see the same thing with the advent of photography, right? Where it's like, oh, it's so much easier to get a portrait done if I just click on this photograph. Well, back then you would have had to like sit for an hour, but nowadays it's just so easy to get like a selfie, right? Camera obscura, exactly. So then that's what led to, or one of the reasons what led to modern art, where it's like, okay, artists, if people aren't going to be looking to us for portraits, well, what can we do? Well, we can make art weird. We could do something that photography can't do, which is make our art really weird. Which I think is funny because now you're seeing something similar with the advent of AI art, which I still hate. I still don't like AI art. But it's interesting because now it is making artists rethink of like, well, now what's something that we can do that AI art can't do, right? So art has been a process of developing art that technology can't recreate easily. Beautifully said, Matthew. Beautifully said. In fact, I'm going to pin that. That's perfect way to say it. So yeah, you saw it with the invention of the printing press. Even before this, you saw it with the invention of paper. Back then, so one thing about the illuminated manuscripts too is that they're made out of a material called vellum. Vellum is actually stretched animal skin. They didn't use paper even though they had access to paper. Paper comes from China and then it went its way, it got to Europe via the Middle East, via the Arabs and the Muslims. So they had access to paper, but they saw paper as quote unquote unchristian. They saw it as like, oh, this is kind of a strange material. We're just gonna use the stuff that we've been using, which is animal skins. So that also made art like so much more expensive back then. Didn't we used to be like, you have to know things by heart, and if you don't, you're cheating? Exactly, that's another one. American story. Yeah, that's a perfect example of like, oh, paper. You're gonna write things down, but you can't remember it. Oh, the kids of this generation, they're depending too much on paper. They can't be memorizing anything like what we used to do back in the day. So yeah, like totally. That's another thing that like once this thing started becoming more regular, society, not even just artists but society, had to kind of rethink how to do things. So yeah, good series that goes into bookbinding tech is Ascendance of a Bookworm. Oh, cool, nice. Start screaming in for my favorite series mention. Ooh, I might take a look at that then. I think it was Socrates who hated the idea of literacy, since writing things down means people didn't memorize and analyze philosophy themselves, which is an interesting argument, right? Because, you know, I love books. Now you've done it. You mentioned Idol's favorite series. But yeah, like all of these technological advances, they all lead to like society rethinking things. So yeah. Trying to imagine playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With an ungentrified deck by memory when a card has 20 effects in tiny print. I mean, that's what Yugi Moto did. That's it. If you're trusting the dub, I think in the sub they still had the writing. But I think the dub, it was just like, nope, you just had to memorize all of them. But yeah, so technology and all of the things that come with it. Screw the rules, I have green hair. But yeah, this all kind of relates to the setting of Pentiment, right? TV show rules. It's all imaginary. There are no rules. I attack the flotation ring of this castle. That's the one thing that like stood out to me as a kid. But yeah, so that's a little bit about illuminated manuscripts. So those are intentional illustrations that the commissioner wanted. However, there's also other illustrations that you might see in these illuminated manuscripts. And that is one of the last things we're going to talk about today, which is marginalia. So marginalia is anything that's written in the margins of a book. So these can be little notes, but they can also be full-blown illustrations. Sometimes done by bored monks, because the thing with writing down all of these Bibles, word by word, ink by ink, for one, mistakes are sure to happen, but also they're gonna. Another thing that this video that I watched, actually, let me click on that link. I'm trying to remember what the context was for that. Oh no, there's an ad. Not in stream, but on YouTube. That one looks like me? It does, doesn't it? Okay, let me go to this. Let's see, 535. Oh yeah, so a little bit of context when it comes to the monks in the abbeys doing their illustrations, doing their copying is they were supposed to be in strict silence the entire time. They couldn't make small talk because it ruined concentration. So can you imagine having to handwrite every section of the Bible multiple times in complete silence for longer than 8 hours a day? That would drive you insane. And that's where we start to get things like marginalia. So let me catch up on chat and then we'll watch this video together. Wise man hating literacy. The olden days were very backwards. In some ways, yes, but you kind of see the point of what Socrates was saying of like, oh, like back in my day, we used to memorize everything. Now kids won't be able to do that because they're depending on reading. Yeah, so Rinrin said that this one looks like me. My model is based off a specific marginalia, but it was like an upside down bear. I have to find it again. Like the doodles I used to write notes in school. Yeah, exactly. That's an example of marginalia. Yeah. My elementary notebooks are full of millennial marginalia. Exactly. Mine was the eye. I always drew eyes. And then the other image on that. Well, we'll talk about that other image, but let's watch this video, which was another source that I used. Oh. Here we go. Wow. So yeah, like, can you imagine, like, you commission someone to make this beautiful, like, fantastically illustrated book for you. You open up the book, this beautiful Bible or this prayer book, and then you find all of these things in the margins that are like, I hate this. I hate that you commissioned this. I'm so tired. I'm so very, very tired. So sometimes it would be stuff that's written out like that, but other times it would be these cute little doodles, right? So, Babinkanelia, my beloved. My doodles of weird aliens is history. Exactly, it is. It is. Like, literally, if it survives, like, the next few years, everything is technically history, right? So, yeah. When it was stuff like drawings rather than, like, written messages, there was always, not always, but usually there's a sense of playfulness with it as well. I watched a really cool video about, like, there is a prayer book where one of the marginalia is a man wrestling with a lion. And you could read that as like, oh yeah, he's conquering his sins, right? The lion is like the animal of sin or something like that. But the curator was like, if you think about medieval imagery, the lion was sometimes a symbol for courage, but also sometimes a symbol for Jesus Christ. So a man wrestling and actually winning against a lion was kind of this kind of playful parody of like, actually, your sins are so strong that you're actually fighting off Jesus Christ himself. So it's kind of that. It's not supposed to be this like kind of sick burn against the commissioner. It's just kind of like a teehee. Like, well, you should be thinking about this kind of stuff. So another example, for example, is the down here. Let me get this illustration. Oh no, that's not the right one. This one. Yep, she's harvesting. You could see what she's harvesting. She's harvesting something, right? For God's sake, Brother Prohaze, keep your noise down. I've been trying to write a new edition of the Bible and I've been stuck rewriting the same page for 20 minutes. Exactly. So yeah, she's harvesting something. I forgot what the symbolism of this was, but you could probably make something up like, oh, she's harvesting fertility, right? To procreate. Procreates the word of God, right? Me harvesting the fertility tree. Exactly. I've heard of eating a bag of dicks, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, she's just doing a harvest, right? So whether this is some kind of medieval meme, right? Or some kind of inside joke, or some kind of like actual religious imagery, who knows? Who knows? Ah, yes, the good old harvesting D's. This, can you imagine if this is actually a D's nuts joke? Like a medieval D's nuts joke? Like, what? I feel like that might be what this is, right? Because like they were bored. That's kind of like the main idea with all this marginalia is that the monks were bored. They weren't always interested in what they were copying down. They had to have a little bit of fun with it. A timeless joke, for real. Exactly. So yeah, there are scholars who look into what each of the symbolism is, but you know, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt that like sometimes this was just for fun. It's like we were all just talking about our millennial marginalia, right? Can you imagine if an archaeologist from like 2,000 years from now, they look at your doodles of aliens and eyeballs and anime faces and they try to figure out like what that's all about. It's like, oh, did humans back then used to have really big eyes, or there was this really big emphasis on eyes, you know? My headmaster said, who's been drawing dicks? Marginalia on art comms today would go crazy. Exactly. Like, you want to imagine like these are people just like us. Ungaks, yes, the Betel Ungaks. There is so much information about our time period in the Ungaks. For those who don't know what Ungaks are, there's another VTuber, a really cool one named Gavis Betel. He used to do these doodles back in the day called Ungaks. And he showed them off on a stream recently, and they're just like these funky creatures, right? And they're funky. They're supposed to be kind of ridiculous, but they can tell a lot about society, like what society views as humorous, right? The society might view like random things string together as humor. Who's to say that people in medieval times didn't think the same? Who's to think that like a monk wasn't like, hey, check it out. Look at this bear. Look at this bear that I drew. He's holding a mop. Isn't that funny? Look at this nun that I drew. She's harvesting dicks. Isn't that funny, Brother Piero? Ah, yes, indubitably. Get ye old magged. Exactly, exactly. So I think that's why I like marginalia so much, is because they weren't always meant to have like a certain bit of symbolism, but it gives us a lot of insight as to like what people of that time period found funny or interesting. And thank you for joining the class, Ziegler. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So yeah, it's a little bit about medieval marginalia. Brother Piero's periphery peckers. That's a good tongue twister. My cousin showed me like these drawings that were people in costume. It wasn't marginalia, but I think it was medieval art or near Renaissance. Ah, we were talking about, let's see. Yeah, like illuminated manuscript stuff like this, right? Oh yeah, this too, like the rabbits on the snails. Like what's the deal with that? Were they just being random? LOL XD? Or maybe there was like a bit of symbolism, a little bit of topsy-turvy symbolism. So yeah, all this stuff is stuff that I appreciate about medieval art. So we are reaching the end. So I have a couple of last sections before we call it for today. She was giving me some ideas for something to draw when we hung out one time. Nice. I've been thinking a lot about like drawing medieval stuff lately, especially now that I'm back in my Digimon era, right? I might want to do some medieval digis. Sister's Denna rejected my advances, so I drew her picking dicks off a tree in the marginalia. Exactly. Who's to say that wasn't the case, right? Especially for Sister's Denna. Okay, so the last reason why medieval art has the reputation that it does is because there was a lot of, especially by later scholars and later communities, a lot of comparisons to classic art, which came before, and Renaissance art, which came after. So we'll stick to I didn't write it down here, but the deal with classic art is that there was a lot of emphasis on realism. Well, not a lot. I'll show you examples in a little bit. Etched on monsters. Yeah. But, you know, when you think of classic art, you think of these like beautiful statues, like the statue of Athena in Athens, statues of the gods, and they usually portray them as like human with realistic proportions. And then later on, you get to what's called the Renaissance. And if you're not familiar with this from history class, the Renaissance was a period where the word Renaissance actually comes from the word meaning rebirth. People saw it as a rebirth of like these classic ideas, like good proportions, perfect proportions, like realism in art. So it was kind of like seen as a return to that. But what coincided with that is that there started to be new techniques in oil painting. This started out in the Netherlands with Dutch artists. So the cool thing about oil paint is that it takes a while for the paint to dry. So during that time, you can actually mix the colors really well. You can make these really rich colors, and you can do things like transitions. So that was happening at the same time as wealthy families, like they were religious, but they weren't like popes and stuff. Okay, let me rewind. Like I said before, the people that had all the money and power were the churches. However, eventually people like the Borgias and the Medicis were also starting to get pretty rich off of certain things like trade, economics. The Borgias, actually one of them became the Pope. And then the Medicis, they funded a lot of like different arts programs. So now they were the ones calling the shots. Remember that with a lot of religious medieval art, the point of it was to be clear so that when people saw like this picture of Jesus, they knew that it was Jesus. So it had to be clear. It didn't have to be beautiful. Exactly. Patronage. Me thinking, what are some commissions that are considered expensive in our time? Then it hit me. Furries! Yes! Yes, exactly. Like, can you imagine how archaeologists, like 2,000 years from now, are going to be like, it seems like this culture really valued these anthropomorphized creatures in which animals would take on human form, and maybe this had some kind of religious significance. Maybe it had some kind of spiritual significance, right? It's like how we see the Egyptians. Can you imagine? That's probably like what is gonna come out of this era of like art commissions. So yeah, patronage definitely makes a difference. So the Borgias and the Medicis and all of these rich families, they started to be more concerned with realism in their art, because another reason is because let's say that I commission you to make art and I want you to use, let's say that I'm or let's say that Lord Beans of the Beans clan, he is commissioning an artist to make art of Mother Mary and baby Jesus, but he wants to use his lovely wife Binka and his lovely cub, who doesn't exist yet, Binka Jr. as the models. And let's say that the artist returns the art in the fashion of medieval art, where they kind of look, give me a second. They kind of look like this. It's like, oh, here's your art based off your lovely wife Binka and your lovely baby Binka Jr. Do you like it? Then Lord Beans might not be so happy. However, if you get art that looks like this, that looks like his lovely wife and his lovely baby, then yeah, you're going to be a little bit more happy. So that's another reason why we started to see art that became a little bit more realistic, with less concern over making Jesus look like a fully grown adult but small, and more concerned with baby Jesus as a baby. Imagine Patreon, but the artist moved in with their patron and became their personal artist. Yo, I wish we still had that kind of lifestyle, right? But yeah, so all these things were happening around the same time, of like better techniques in art, more emphasis on realism, and the patrons having more emphasis in realism, right? I know there was like a drawing of Child George Washington, but he had an adult head on the body. I mean, that's symbolism for you, right? I guess people won't be confused with who that's supposed to be, right? So yeah, like this change in who was funding the art also led to a change in style and what was considered popular at the time. So now that the Borgias and the De Medicis were commissioning art, they wanted art that looked more realistic and more like their beautiful wives and their beautiful babies and their fancy automobiles. Just kidding, they didn't have those yet. So yeah, that's a little bit of like that comparison, and I'm gonna show you 2 slides that kind of show off that comparison and a way to kind of debunk it. So is you want to kind of think of it as like the Chad versus Virgin meme, where you have your Virgin, your Chad classic art. This is actually a Roman bust. This was made, let me see the details on this one. This was made in the year 35 CE, so like about 2,000 years ago. This is during the Roman era, and this is a bust. Look, it looks really realistic, right? It looks like a little kid. This is really realistic. And then you look at the virgin medieval art. Ew, why does it look like that? Why does St. John look like that? It doesn't look realistic. He looks kind of weird looking, right? Also, I'm saying this very tongue-in-cheek. This isn't what I actually think. Because you're also free to say, like, I think that looks really neat, actually. Neckbeard St. John, exactly. Why does he look like that? It doesn't look realistic at all, right? And then you look at these 2, Virgin and Madonna and Child, right? So here you have the medieval version, where it's like, oh, he looks so flat, and baby Jesus just looks like a middle-aged man. He looks like Seinfeld, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at the Chad Renaissance art, where it's like, oh, the Virgin actually looks like this beautiful lady, and the baby actually looks like a baby, right? So that's another reason why medieval art has this reputation, because of these comparisons. However, if you really look at like I said, like a big problem with medieval art is this flattening of like what medieval art means. If you look at different examples, you'll find that there's a lot of diversity in medieval art itself. The Chad Virgin Mary and the Virgin Mary. I'm dead. That's so funny. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, the Chad Virgin Mary and the Virgin Mary. So yeah, he looks like a caveman. Yeah, so that probably had like its own fair share of symbolism. I'm gonna say that's probably the reason why. But everything that you see on the screen right now is considered medieval art. These are all different examples of medieval art. So look at how diverse and beautiful they all are. I am a little biased because I took these from like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I chose kind of like the best examples I could find. So you're for sure also gonna find some stuff that is a little bit wonky with the proportions, stuff that might not look as aesthetically pleasing. But I chose like just like a diverse amount of art. I want to go to the Met again. Me too. Me too. I was looking at my old pictures from when I went a couple years back, and I'm like, man, I miss it. I miss the places like big as the Met. Chad Virgin Mary, who is a virgin, and Virgin Mary, Virgin Mary Chad, who is also a virgin. You gotta love it. But yeah, so these are different pieces of art. So let's see. The Saint John John the Baptist, that is British. This one over here, this is British. This one up here, this is the Holy Family. This is German. This is beautiful too. Here we have just a bust of let's see, reliquary bust of Saint Balbina. I don't know who that is, but this is Netherlandish. This is Dutch. And then let's see, over here. This is, I showed this one earlier. This is a folding shrine, and this is French. So as you can see, like all of them have like different scales of color, detail, ornateness. I've been using that word a lot, all right? All the circles are making a square here. Yeah. Exactly. Let's see, New York City Museum meetup. That'd be cool. So yeah, these are all examples of medieval art. So, you know, if you stray away from comparisons, yes, especially with Renaissance art, because there's also technological advancements in art, yeah, you do get better quality. But my whole point in showing this stream, in covering this topic, is just showing that, like, in its own way, medieval art is just as beautiful. So I hope I was able to get that message across. But before we end off, before I take any questions and stuff, some artists did some pretty things and others were artists. Exactly. There is one last topic I want to go over for today, and it's one that I hope touches your heart in the same way it touched mine, because it is an example of medieval art, but I feel like it's also not always covered in the topic of medieval art. So consider this an appendix. The art of Onfim. Gonna head off now. Have a good night. I found this interesting. I'm glad, Chris Ziegler. I'm glad. I hope you have a good night, and thanks for dropping by. I appreciate it. So, the art of Onfim. If you've never heard of Onfim, I'm gonna tell you about him. Oh, and some of you guys have already heard of him. So I know that it looks like Rinrin and Alpaca and Marek. You guys all heard of this kid before. So this is a, people will say that he was a Viking kid, kind of sort of. He was a kid who lived in Novgorod in Russia in the years 1220 to 1260, around that time. And the reason why we know about him is because we have his school time doodles. We have all of his drawings from when he was learning how to read and write. And this is a child. This is most likely a young child. But let me actually open up the page so that we can get a better look at some of his art, which, you know, we're talking about this whole idea of it being like aesthetically pleasing, of it being like, you know, technologically advanced. These are a child's doodles, and yet I find them super touching because of like because it's just so human. It's something that you would see a kid from nowadays draw, right? Sweet boy, yeah. Because it's also like some of the text. Okay, let's open up this one. There we go. One of Onfim's schoolwork doodles, depicting himself as a horseman slaying a person, presumably his teacher. Why? Why his teacher? Onfim, why? They were just trying to teach you how to read and write. But yeah, like, isn't that something that's so human, though? It's something that's so, like, you could see a kid nowadays doing something like, not even a kid, maybe a college student. Like, it's all the kind of archaic shows that doodles evolved a little bit too over time. Yeah, exactly. Like, the cool thing about childhood doodles is you see what children really emphasize. For example, if you see a child's drawing that emphasizes the eyes, that means that that kid saw eyes is very important. Here, if we're looking at what he's really emphasizing, let's see, the arms, definitely. The face is really funny. Look at the sense of scale, too. Like, he's riding on this horse. We could tell that it's a horse, right? Because, like, it has the 4 legs. He's riding on top of it. And then like I like the arms, the little trident arms. I think that's pretty funny. A Calvin before times, exactly. Like this is designs of stick figures. Yeah, Battle's previous life. That's so good. No, not the gun. No, why would you shoot me? I'm just a silly little bear. I'm just a silly little bear. But yeah, like it's so human. It's something that you would see nowadays. This is a statue of Onfim in current day Novgorod. And then these are his like exercises. These are his homework exercises. And then this one is very endearing. It's him. It's kind of hard to like parse out, but it's him riding a horse or a beast. Like this might be interpreted as like this is the head of the beast, and then this might be fire, right? And then these are the 4 legs and a tail. I can't see his exact figure, but the text is what you want to pay attention to. The text says, "I am a wild beast." Oh, so you know what? He's not even in here. He is the beast, right? Like he's like imagining himself as like a little monster. He's like, "Rawr, I'm a monster. I'm gonna destroy everything." This is a child that lived over like 800 years ago, but he's doing things that you would see a modern day child do as well. It's like, "Look, I'm a Godzilla. I'm a ferocious monster. I'm a furry." Oh no. Battle was Stanzik. Exactly. Maybe he was a budding furry. Who knows? And then there's, here we go, birch bark letter, spelling lessons. So this is his marginalia, right? This is an example of like his little doodles while he's boarding class. Now in the 6th hour, a series of syllables and portraits. So this could be his friends. Magni was a medieval furry. Exactly. So look, these little portraits of all of his schoolmates, all of his little friends, right? Here's some other ones. This one I like a lot because look at the eyes, right? Doesn't this look like a selfie? And then it's like him and his friends riding horses, or it might not be him and his friends. It might be people in his life that he admires, right? Like maybe his father, or like a father figure, some kind of paternal figure, or just the knights that he would see, be knights, but warriors that he would see in his daily life, right? Maybe he admired them a lot and he was regaled by tales of like warfare and battle. And he was drawing that. He was drawing his ambitions. He was drawing things that he was dreaming about and like fantasizing about in these drawings. They're so human, and that's why I love the art of Onfim a lot. Because it's like a portrait into like 13th century life, but it's showing that like, yeah, 800 years might have gone by, but how much has actually changed, right? In us as humans, or I guess it's you guys, because I'm a bear. Memes, the DNA of the soul. It's been in existence since time immemorial. That's so good. I'm gonna pin that too. You guys are here with the bangers today in the chat. I love Onfim so much. Me too. I like that they don't have bodies. They just have head, legs, arms, and kind of the reverse Rayman. Yeah. Once again, this shows like I think childhood art in itself is also really a really interesting topic. That's why a couple years back I used to teach kindergarten during the summer. I love their drawings so much because you really see what they emphasize, what they are more concerned with, whether it's their eyes, arms, legs, their own kind of like symbolism, right? I think another thing I like about like when kids do art is that they're not so obsessed with perfectionism. So, oh no. Oh, thank you, Seribot. Seribot got a Banny Vader. How dare they? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so like kids, once they get to a certain point, they start to get a little bit more into like, oh, my art should be realistic. It should look like exactly what I'm thinking in my mind. Younger kids, they don't have that kind of baggage. It's always very like, I just want to draw something. This drawing over here is me and my best friend, and that's his dad, and blah blah blah. And they're not obsessed with like, oh no, I didn't get the shading just right, right? Like, because I teach middle schoolers now, so you definitely see that like once you get into like 6th grade and after, then it gets to kids being like, oh, it's not perfect, it's not what I wanted. Let me mute for a second. Nice, we got our Uber Eats. So yeah, exactly, Rin. I love kid doodles so much. Wait a second, Onfim's characters look like the fun twins from Smiling Friends? Wait, I'm so curious. Fun twins, smiling friends. Because I've watched every episode, but I don't remember who that is. Oh yeah, the eyeballs. Wait, yeah, you're right. Maybe they were based on that. Like he knows hands have fingers, but not how many. Yeah, actually, I love that. I love that observation. Yeah, exactly. Like you could tell he knows that they have fingers, but it's like, how many are you showing on each hand? Like this one has way too many, right? But at least he knows that they have fingers. Because then you could start to think about like, well, how old was Onfim then? Like, was he like 10 years old or something? Let's see. Does this have that? Yeah, I don't know if we know exactly how old he was. We just know that he was a child, right? Oh, here. Most likely 6 or 7. Yeah. There you go. He was most likely 6 or 7 at the time. I guess it would be based off of like what letters he's learning, right? Because it's like, you know, it's like kids nowadays learning how to write their ABCs 1, 2, 3s. So he is doing those kinds of exercises. It's so fun to hear kids explain their art. Yes, 100%, 100%, because they're like so sure about what they just portrayed, right? That's why here's a little tip if you guys ever get into like arts education, don't try to keep things open-ended. Like ask the kid what they drew, because if you say like, oh, I love the bunny rabbit that you drew here, then they're gonna be like, that's a horse. And then they might get a little disheartened. But if you ask them, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's me and my friend, and we're riding on a horse and we're going to war, we're gonna fight the French, and then we're gonna do this. Like I love hearing their explanations so much. But yeah, so that is yet another example of medieval art, the art of Onfim. And with that is my non-exhaustive sample, a quick look at medieval art. So that's pretty much it. That's my lecture for today. That's my class for today. So it wasn't meant to be exhaustive. Like I said, when I was researching for this one, there were so many rabbit holes. There were just so many rabbit holes of like, oh, I want to talk about the ivories. I want to talk about the tapestries. I want to talk about this and that. But I had to draw the line at like architecture and illuminated manuscripts in order for this to be like, you know, a bit of an overview. But at the very least, I hope my kind of thesis, my main idea with this was to show that like medieval art, you know, it might not be as technically impressive as like what came before and after, but in its own way, it's very beautiful and it's very diverse. And there was a lot of technological advances, like what you see with the architecture. So that's why I like it. That's why I think it's neat, and I hope after this, you guys think it's neat too. So yeah. Let's see. We're gonna fight the French. My face when Onfim art is the best medieval art. That could completely be your takeaway too. It could be like, out of everything that we've seen, even despite the architecture and stuff, I think Onfim's art is the most like human. It's the most human, right? Now clap. Oh gosh. But yeah, all of the images are from Wikimedia Commons or the Getty Center or the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I tried to use all of the images should be Creative Commons or open source. I sure hope. And then some of the sources that I used were mostly videos. I didn't have too much time to read. And also after my master's degree, I don't know how to read. I'm just like the medieval folks. I can't read. Design is very human. I would say pretty, but yeah, human too. Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of the cave paintings, right? The cave paintings of like where you see people's like hands on the tops of caves. It's one of those like, I'm here kind of moments. Like I'm here and I will be here. Now I want to see anatomically accurate human based on Onfim drawings. That'd be cute. But yeah, those are some of my sources. If you guys want the presentation that I used, I will be putting it on my Discord, but I can also link it here if you guys want. By the way, all of these like tree designs, I did them by hand. Or rather not by hand, but like I did it with like the curve tool, like this. I did all of that. It took me so much trial and error, but eventually I did settle on some kind of design. So give me a second. Actually, I can't tell if you even were able to see that. Yeah, you can. Oh, we have an ad break coming up. So I think I will let that ad break play, and then we'll mosh, and then we'll end off. But I will also link you guys with this presentation. Thanks for stopping by, Alpaca. No worries at all. No worries. Get some rest. Get some rest. So yeah, we'll let that ad break play. I'm gonna eat a little bit of my Uber Eats food, and then we'll end off, and I'll send you guys the link to this. All right. But yeah, let's put you guys somewhere nice and toasty. Nice and toasty. I'll see you guys after the ad break. Yippee! Yeah, later, Merrick. Later. Alright, we're back. We're so back. Oh no, the presentation's gone. That's because it's in the chat. It's in the chat. I made it available for folks to view at their own leisure. And the notes section does have credits for each of the whatchamacallit, the pictures. So Yeah, oopsie. Didn't mean to show it up like that. Well, that's okay, because now we're gonna mosh. Okay, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. It was a lot of fun to make. It did take me 2 weeks. It was, dare I say, one of the more ambitious lessons that I wanted to do. But afterwards, I think my next topic that I want to do is about specifically Digimon. Just because, like I said, I'm in my Digimon era again. But specifically, I would want it to be something that I'm like pretty well versed in. And there's already so many content creators that are focusing on Digimon, so I might want to focus on the mythological parts of Digimon. So like, there's a lot of Digimon that are based off of things like Greek gods. There's the Olympus 12. There's the 4 sovereigns who are based off of like the cardinal directions, like Suzaku the phoenix, Byakko the tiger, all that kind of stuff. So that might be something that I want to explore next month for our next educational topic. So Puppetmon with his gun, yes. So yeah, look forward to that. Otherwise, what are we doing? So tomorrow's Saturday, so I'm gonna do a double stream. Am I doing? Yeah, I am doing a double stream. So the morning stream is not going to be our study stream. It's actually going to be Posca markers. We haven't done traditional art in a while, so I'm going to do a traditional Posca marker stream tomorrow, and then in the evening we're going to do our Japanese study stream. So yeah, look forward to that. My voice is going, and I have Uber Eats in front of my face, and I'm going to eat it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys mosh, and then we're going to raid into Aros for tonight. So go ahead once you hear the music. Feel free to spam your favorite emote. And then I'm going to make your stream avatars fight each other. And it's RNG. It's not rigged. So once you hear the music, go for it. We're doing Bloody Wood today. Put the volume up. No, it's not rigged. It's not. Your favorite emotes. I see that Gojikins' favorite is the knife. See, it's not rigged. It's not. Good job, folk. But can you win round 2? Wait, why didn't that paste? Mosh pit. Round 2. Fight. Oh yeah, alpaca's a fighter. Especially in their sleep. Yahoo! And guess what, guys? We have just enough time for round 3. The doctor gave me 10 months. The clock says 60 seconds. Heaven or hell. Fight! Don't forget your knives. Let's go. Peg School, you win round 3. We got 3 different winners. See, it's not rigged. I keep telling you guys, it's not rigged. I dodged the health like it was out to get me. I know, sometimes it'd be like that. No. Dang, this song rocks. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, guys, so tomorrow is another day. I'll see you guys then. We're gonna go ahead and raid into Ross. I want to ask him if he heard about the Digimon news. Thank you for the lovely stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. It's a great song. Yeah, it is. It is. I appreciate you guys. Whenever I make like educational streams, I'm like, oh man, I feel like people are gonna get bored by it, but you guys seemed really interested and I appreciate that. So thank you guys. Thank you like a million, billion, trillion, quadrillion times. Quintillion. Now let's go ahead and raid. I'll see you guys tomorrow, bright and early, for some Posca markers. And then we'll go from there. So have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. And as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Bye-bye.